Hello, friends and neighbors. My name is Matt Murphy, not Brian Wilson. It is 3:07, and I am pleased to be with you on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is The Drive. We'll get you home safe and sound, at least we hope, by 7 o'clock. I hope you get home sooner, especially if you're already on the way. But you never know with Nashville traffic. Beautiful day outside, albeit a little bit hot. It ought to be hot. It's summertime in the South. Thank you for being with us. Whatever time you're able to give us, we're certainly appreciative of it. We invite you to participate in the program, and I'll tell you how coming up in just a few moments. After I introduce the players of the show, to include the one and only Jay Harper. He's behind the glass, making sure that he keeps up with the headlines, and he delivers those twice an hour and when news breaks. Also behind the glass, making sure that everything that comes out of our speakers sounds as good as humanly possible. The one and only Chris Weber joins us on the show. Hello, Mr. Weber.
Hi. There's only so much I can do, though.
No, I understand that. I understand you've got tough duty today.
Yeah.
I told Chris Weber that when I came on air, I was going to announce that Brian is off today because tomorrow's a big day for Super Talk. We've got the big debate coming up. Mm-hmm. We've got a big event out at Hot Springs. Yep. I know that you're excited about it, Chris.
Oh, I can't wait.
I was going to ask you, would you like for me to get someone to bring you a plate? I mean, I'll see what I can do. I can't guarantee anything.
I think I'll be fine, but I appreciate the offer.
Did you see that Fatty Maddie's is providing the food?
That sounds delicious. I don't know what that is, but it sounds good.
It does sound good, and it got a lot of jokes running around the radio station. I didn't know Matt Murphy had a food truck. was the going humor, but one way or the other. No, my joke was going to be that Brian Wilson, contrary to what he wants you to believe, that he had a procedure done on his hand and that forced him to be out today, that he's actually taking 24 hours in honor of Joe Biden to prepare to watch the debate. If it takes Joe Biden 7 days to participate in the debate, how long does it take us to all watch it? But, yeah, we're excited about tomorrow night. Hot Springs. Brian will be there starting at 3 o'clock. You're invited to come anytime afterwards, and I'm certain that everyone else, including Dan Mandis, Chris Hand, myself, will be filtering in soon after, and eventually we'll all gang up on the radio until 8 o'clock, where we will broadcast the debate. At first, there was some question as to whether or not we would be allowed to do that. CNN, say what you will about #NeverCNN, they saw the benefit in opening this up to the other media outlets, recognizing that, they're going to be showcased one way or the other. And so they did so. They didn't have to do that, but they did it. I'm sure they didn't do it for us. They did it for them. And so we will be broadcasting the debate. Will you be manning the controls tomorrow night?
Not for the debate. No, I do have relief coming at 8 o'clock.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah.
But you'll be here until 8.
Yes.
As we will be on air until that time. Well, I'm very excited. Are you excited? Do you get, I don't know if Brian ever asks you these types of questions. Do you get excited about these types of things, or do they kind of just wash over you?
The event or the debate?
The debate.
I wouldn't say I'm excited about it. I am interested to see how things go.
Right.
I'll say that. Yeah.
I feel like we are, and I talked about this a little bit yesterday on my show, a little bit the day before on my show, and I'll talk about it here now. And I would be curious to get the Drive listening audience perception on this. Now, before I get into my theory on how all of this is going to shake out and how we may be setting ourselves up for ultimate failure. I'm not blaming you for this, but it's just an observation on my part. I will remind you that as I conduct the proceedings today, I invite you to call at any time of your choosing. I know Brian does things a little bit differently, but for me, I love turning monologue into a dialogue. 615-737-9986. Call at any time, and we'll get you on air. We have a couple of guests to tell you about. Robbie Starbuck will join us at 4:30. Robbie is a local activist living here in Nashville, Tennessee. He ran for the 5th Congressional District seat, was eventually booted by the Republican Party because he had not lived here long enough. I think it was because his hair was too long, but that's just me. But Robbie has some inside info on a local business, Tractor Supply, and I wanted to talk with him about it, and we will do so at 4:35 this afternoon. At 5:35, Congressman Tim Burchett will give his perspective on what we can anticipate from the debate tomorrow, what we can anticipate over the course of the summer leading to election cycle with regard to any sort of legislation to be passed in the Congress. I don't expect anything's going to happen between now and then. We'll find out from Tim Burchett his perspective at 5:35 this afternoon. Plus your telephone calls all afternoon long. As I do on my show, I will announce, I've been growing my hair out for Donald Trump. That's what I say. I started on March 1st. I refuse to cut my hair until we have a new president-elect. And if you want to go on Super Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, you can see there that it is LFT 116. I'm wearing a hat today, so I look particularly rednecky. I look particularly mullet-y today. Don't you think?
You got a little flow back there.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's a little party going on in the back.
Yeah.
There's a party on top, too. You just can't see it. But you can see it tomorrow night. Don't touch it. It might, something might crawl out of there and bite on you. But you can see it tomorrow night. Locks for Trump Day 116, my 599th show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Later on, we will guest debate questions. That should be a lot of fun. We're going to do that later on in the broadcast. I did want to talk about, I pick on Brian Wilson and say, he's missing the day because he has to take a day just to prepare to listen to this garbage. I want us to take a step back for just a moment. And I try to do this in a nonpartisan way. It's almost impossible to do anything in a nonpartisan way nowadays, but I get that. Because we've never, it seemed, certainly in my lifetime, I don't believe that we've been this divided as a nation as to what is the best direction, what is the best course, what is the best future for our country. Do you want to salvage that which the Founding Fathers created, or do you want to, like Barack Obama declared in 08-09, fundamentally transform the United States of America, which is what he said, and he meant it, and his minions mean it. But beyond all that, beyond policy positions and direction, beyond a lack of activity at our southern border, a lack of activity on the foreign stage, a lack of activity to deal with inflation, a lack of activity to deal with our energy crisis or the prices at the gasoline pump or the gas or the grocery store, above and beyond all of these things that we currently don't see happening on the federal level. Can we just sit back for a moment and recognize that what has long been considered the leader of the free world, there's a free world and then there's a not-so-free world. And the not-so-free world exists, and it's the China of the world. And there's a lot of dictatorships around the world that you would consider not so free, right? Russia, not so free. China, not so free. But in the pantheon of the free world, the United States of America is the clear leader. And really all over the globe, there are two superpowers, and I used to say that we were the distinct number one with a bullet, and China was number two. I don't believe that gap is what it used to be. I'm sad to tell you that, but it is true. The leader of the free world, with everything that's going on, just spend a moment to think about this, to actually contemplate. The guy that makes the decisions, or at least is supposed to make the decisions. The guy that has his, back when I was a kid, we would say, he has the finger on the button, right? That's what we would say. And you guys of a certain age, you know what I'm talking about. We're talking about the man with the finger on the button. You going to elect him to have his finger on, Donald Trump's going to have his finger on the button? He needs 7 days to prepare for a 90-minute conversation about public policy. I'm not comparing the two events, but I had a Zoom call last night that I forgot about with a Tennessee organization. Secretary of State Trey Hargett was on the call along with me. They invited me to be on to talk about, at the time that I got on the call, I didn't know what we were talking about because I forgot about it. I got a text alert, hey, are you jumping on to check your feed for this call? Oh, my goodness. And I immediately knew two things. I immediately knew that I was supposed to be on a call at 6:30 last night, and I knew that I had no idea what the call was and what it was about. Now, I am not the sharpest tool in the shed just ask anybody. Chris Webber, call Chris Webber, ask Chris Webber. He'll tell you that I am not, in fact, the sharpest tool in the shed, brightest bulb on the tree, yada, yada. But I got on the call as soon as I possibly could. I was very embarrassed about forgetting about the appointment. And the gentleman on the other end said, tell us a few things, Matt, about what happened in the last General Assembly of importance, what's going to happen. He started asking me questions, and I started answering the questions. And we spent a good hour Q&A, and there was a lot of Trey Hargett involved. Trust me, they didn't want me on there. They wanted Hargett on there. But you began answering questions. Oh, well, you know, the primary priority in the last legislative session was school choice and vouchers. It became a very contentious debate amongst conservatives. You talk about that for a while. We talked about transgender rules and regulations and the Supreme Court decision to take up Tennessee. We discussed that for a while. Hell, every day on our radio airwaves, we get something coming out of left field. But if you are involved in what we do on a day-to-day basis, you understand the basics of the issues, and you can relate the basics of the issues to the American people or to the people of the state of Tennessee or to the listeners of Super Talk 99.7 WTN without regard for study or preparation. However, the President of the United States of America, a man enlisted with the responsibility to protect and secure the blessings of freedom and liberty that we enjoy across this great country, needs over a week. I just want to make sure, and I understand that all of you recognize this, and it's been much talked about. I don't know that we've sat for a moment and recognized the severity of the issues at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue involved in a man needing a full week to prepare to debate Donald Trump. The report last night that I saw indicated that he had 16 people assisting him in his preparations. And the preparations included not only policy prep, not only mock debates, but making sure, I'm not making this up, that Joe Biden has the ability to stand up for 90 minutes. Beyond the partisanship, beyond the policy questions, beyond the ideological divide, this should scare every American citizen to death. That we have a president that has to spend and the media, of course, the mainstream media, the hashtag Never CNNs, and the ABC, CBS, the Alphabet Soups, and the Washington Post, and the New York Times, those organizations that run around claiming that they're nonpartisan, but we know exactly what they are. They're bought and paid for. They are mouthpieces of the Democrat Party. They're not highlighting any of this because to do so is to point out the obvious. The decline is real. The dementia is real. And we all should be scared as hell. Now, on the other side, I am fearful, and I have learned not to doubt our man, Donald Trump. But I'm fearful that he's taking this a little less seriously than he should. If there's one thing, and I'm going to talk about it on the other side, and I'll get your thoughts on this. If there's one thing that Donald Trump needs, I don't think Donald Trump needs help on policy. I don't think Donald Trump needs help regarding his instincts and his inclinations about which way we need to go in terms of the United States of America's economy or our foreign policy or whatever. But I do think it would behoove him to understand the opportunity of the moment when it comes before him. And the only way you can do that is to mock prep. The only way you can do that is to stand at a podium and act like you're taking questions. And I don't know if you guys have heard this. Donald Trump's doing none of that. Donald Trump has said, I'm not doing any debate prep. I'm just boning up on policy positions. I'm talking to the people. And all of that sounds great. But I want a Donald Trump ready to pounce tomorrow night. And I am happy when I will be elated when I come on the air Friday morning or Friday afternoon rather, and I say, you know what, I was proven wrong. The man just nailed it, hit it out of the park, just destroyed it. I worry that because we understand about the mental decline on the other side of the aisle, that Donald Trump is not finding the right tone and the right moment. And the only way that you can do that is through preparation, through mock debate prep. And this is spoken as a guy that debated for, I debated for 5 or 6 years. And I'm not saying I was the best at that either, but standing there at the podium and getting questions thrown at you, I mean, that is simulating the environment, unlike you can do just sitting down and reading over policy notes. 322, your thoughts, your questions, your concerns. Do you believe you know what questions will be asked by, obviously, these two are in the bag for Joe Biden. Jake Tapper and Dana Bash. We'll discuss that. We'll talk about the free speech decision by the Supreme Court earlier today. We'll talk about Joe Biden's administration gaslighting the American people on the southern border. It's all to come. Matt Murphy is in for Brian Wilson on The Drive on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
A surprise move by the Illinois July 4th shooting suspect from 2022. And an Illinois man charged with a child sex crime, a variety of child sex crimes in Sumner County. We'll have those stories for you at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Harper. It is 3:28 right now. Super Talk 99.7 WTN live on 99.7 FM from northern Alabama to southern Kentucky and all points in between. We're also on any streaming internet application that you can imagine. And if we're not there, just tell me about it and we'll get there. Anywhere you stream music or information, podcasting, news, we're right there. Just type in Super Talk 99.7 WTN and take us on the go with your laptop or your smartphone. And then, of course, Super Talk TV. For you masochists in the audience that want to see what this ugly thing looks like, come on over. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Super Talk TV, powered in part by F&M Bank, bringing you the chat feature, which is an unmonitored chat. So occasionally you see some wild stuff over there, but, it's nothing that your eyes can't handle. 615-737-9986. So discussing, obviously all of the oxygen in the room is being sucked up by the debate tomorrow night. A lot of anticipation. There's never been a debate this early. I mentioned, and pardon me for those of you who listen to me normally, but between noon and 3, you've heard this yesterday. You heard this last week. I want to repeat it for the drive audience, for those just getting off work and unable to listen during the day. It is my Biden replacement theory. We've heard the term replacement theory. This is my Biden replacement theory. If we all agree, I tell you what, actually, I can't get this out in the time allotted because Harper is back there. He's got his arms folded. He's ready to go. He's loaded for bear, as it were, with regard to the news. So I'm going to get into that coming up in a moment. I'm going to talk to you about the southern border and why what the Biden administration is telling you regarding numbers at the southern border, an absolute lie, and we know it. They are gaslighting us on the border. There was a minion of the Biden administration that went on MSNBC this morning that said, Joe Biden has been concerned about closing the southern border. I can't even get it. I can't even mock it without laughing. Joe Biden has been concerned about closing the southern border since day one. Because they know that they won't be challenged on these networks, they just stand there and lie. And sadly, enough American people just sit at home and they're, eating their oatmeal. Oh, yeah. Oh, Biden's been on top of this since day one. What are you morons talking about? More on that coming up after the anti-moron, Jay Harper, with the news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 3:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. A mix of clouds and sun. We are at 93 degrees on Music Row. The full forecast and a traffic report are coming up. A surprise move by a suspect accused of carrying out a 4th of July mass shooting in Illinois back in 2022. Here's ABC's Derek Dennis.
No closure, not for a while, for the families of the victims of a 4th of July parade mass shooting in Highland Park outside Chicago in 2022. The suspect, 23-year-old Robert Cremo III, rejecting a deal where he would have pleaded guilty to 7 murder charges and be given a life sentence, which would have avoided a lengthy trial. Victim Eduardo Uvaldo's daughter, speaking outside the court, says she just wants justice for her dad.
I know he's up there looking at us now, telling us right now just to be patient.
A trial is expected next year.
Back in Middle Tennessee, an Illinois man facing numerous charges here in the state related to child sex crimes. The Hendersonville Police Department said it launched an investigation into Matthew Moklak, 19 years of age, for sexual exploitation of a minor. That investigation led to U.S. Marshals executing arrest warrants last week at Moklak's home up in Villa Park, Illinois. Authorities say the charges against the man include 20 counts of especially aggravated sexual exploitation of a minor, 1 count of solicitation of a minor, and 1 count of continuous sexual abuse of a child. Police today said that Moklak is currently being extradited to Sumner County. And yeah, we've all been talking about it. We just want you to know that we're going to be airing that presidential debate tomorrow night here on Super Talk. The debate set to air at 8 o'clock. It'll be right after that radio event with all the personalities at Hop Springs and Murfreesboro. We hope you'll be able to join us for that and hang around to, stay there and watch the debate with us. That is the latest news, traffic and weather there next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The drive is in progress. What does Brian say? Let me see if I can get this right. We make your drive home a little easier, and we try to drive the liberals crazy. I think I missed one. Did I? Maybe.
Yeah, but now that you've said it your way, it completely, I can't think of it.
Well,
yeah. You got the gist of it.
Yeah, Wilson's B-Dub's the master of it. So he'll be back tomorrow, never you fear. He had a little procedure done. I mean, I think I can, that wasn't his middle finger. I don't think that was his middle finger.
I think it was the ring finger.
Mm-hmm.
And he's very concerned about this because that's his picking finger. Or that would be his
neck finger?
Yeah, whatever you call it. I don't know.
Yeah, the guitar neck. That's just, what is that called? Somebody on the super text line will tell us.
It's not the strumming finger. It's the
other guy.
Yeah.
That's the guy
that's
that makes
the more important one.
That's the guy that makes the magic happen up there on the neck. Yeah. That's what I'm told. But no, Cabana wife is apparently taking good care of him because she sent me a photo of some of his recuperation.
Oh, yeah. And?
It looked like it involved a margarita. Well, so she said...
First class nursing right there.
What she said to me, I said, is everything going okay? She said, yeah. She said all of the local anesthetic or whatever they use to numb has not faded away. And so I'm building up some preparation for him come 2 o'clock or so when all of the rest of that fades away. I was like, well, that good for you, Cabana
we can
wife.
slide right on into the alcohol
That's
there.
exactly right.
Nice.
But Brian will be back with us tomorrow and actually on location, of course, at Hot Springs. And we invite you to be there. Now, a couple of notes about that. I know that some of you are concerned about the heat, and we were as well. But if you've not been to Hot Springs lately, they have an indoor-outdoor divide now. They've got garage doors. The garage doors will be down. We'll be inside. If you want to be outside and enjoy yourself in the nice 90-degree weather, you're invited to do that. Frankly, I think probably sometime around the time the debate's starting at 8 o'clock or so, it will begin getting nice and pleasant, and they may open up some of those doors. But there are televisions outside and inside, and we'll all be observing the debate. And if you are unable to attend, you're invited to watch or listen to the debate, I should say, on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. But Brian's there starting at 3, and the rest of us filtering in after that. We'll have the full gang of Dan Mandis, Chris Hand, Matt Murphy, and Brian Wilson from 6 until 8 answering your questions. And, we'll all be doing the same things, right? Well, what do you think they're going to say? Well, what do you think he's going to do? Well, what do you think the first question is going to be? Well, I think that Jake Tapper's going to say this. I think that Dana Bash is going to do that. And none of us know until it actually happens. I will give you my reckless speculation, though, as I've done for the better part of the week, after I tell you about Biden replacement theory. Real quick. So it is not a unique position for me to take that the Democrats are concerned about their man. The Democrats are clearly concerned about their man. I do not believe for a moment, most people don't believe for a moment, even leftists don't really believe that Joe Biden is making any of these decisions. The best that a reasonable leftist will give you is, well, Matt, he's surrounding himself with such good people. You've got to understand that he's surrounding himself with such brilliant people, such smart people. They're helping him make the decision. I've never, and of course, you got the Karine Jean-Pierre, or as a listener of mine called her, and I can't get it out of my head. I call her Claude now because one of my listeners called her Jean-Claude Pierre. I think he was.
I think that was Congressman Rose, wasn't it?
I think it was John Rose. Actually, that was last week on the drive. Congressman John Rose called her Jean-Claude Pierre. I think he was mixing up Jean-Claude Van Damme and Karine Jean-Pierre. So anyway, Claude's up there. I've never seen someone more vigorous. Come on. Who are you going to believe? These liars or your eyes? So nobody believes he's actually making the decisions, right? So who among those making the decisions, whether it's, there's a cabal of them, there's Valerie Jarrett, there's Susan Rice, there's Obama himself, and others, who among these individuals decided that it would be okay for Joe to trot out on June 27th and debate Donald Trump before the convention, before things really get hot and heavy, before we see a vice presidential selection on the part of Trump, whatever. Well, they're doing this for a reason. They're not doing it for giggles. They're doing it, one, so that they don't have to do it closer to the event, so that they can, and I think it's a twofold reason that they're doing it. If Joe Biden, they need to see if he can manage. They need to see if he can stand up there. They need to see if he can withstand the white-hot spotlight and whatever softball questions Dana Bash and Jake Tapper toss his way. Because they need time if he can't. And they know that there's a possibility, a very real possibility, that he can't. We all see it. At the end of the day, I'm saddened by it. I'm saddened for our country. And I'm sure as hell saddened for the direction that we're going for our children and our grandchildren. And the Democrats know it too. So they need to see if he can do this early enough to see if they need to replace him or not. And I truly believe that this is a test more so amongst the Democrats than it is regarding the relationship between Trump and Biden as competitors on the national stage. And if he can't perform, and in a way, this kind of sets us up to expect or to wish for that which we don't want. And I caution you on this. What we truly want is a C- or a D+ performance by Joe Biden. You don't want Joe Biden to walk out on stage and fumble and mumble around and act like President Roomba and, wander around and not know where he is and poop his pants and then leave. Because that ensures that we have another candidate which potentially could reinvigorate the Democrats. And frankly, I don't know of a more beatable Democrat than Joe Biden. Now, we have a couple of things going for us there. One, they don't have a bench. They have to get past Kamala Harris, which is as an unlikable politician as you have ever seen in your life. Even more so than the most unlikable politician currently on the top of the list, Hillary Rodham Clinton. Hillary Rodham Clinton was the most, and Kamala Harris has her beat, hands down. Because not only is she unlikable, she's just objectively dumb. Someone sent me something about lighting a lighter. Hold on, let me see if I can find this. This is a fake Kamala Harris quote, and it is regarding a lighter. Oh, here it is. Kamala Harris. Now, see, this is so believable I could hear her saying it. Each time you light your lighter gets lighter until your lighter gets so light it won't light. We have to unburden ourselves with what is to see what could be. I think that's right. And beyond her, they don't have a bench. The Democrats don't really have a bench to go to. Have you noticed that? They have if you asked me the bench for the Republican Party, I could name you 10 people off the top of my head. Byron Donalds and Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz and Rand Paul. And these are people that are getting older. But I could name you the younger generation of J.D. Vance and others that are coming along. Katie Britt is another one in Alabama that are coming along with a hell of a lot of upside on the national scale. Tell me the Democrat politician that is a 30-something or a 40-something that is making waves that is sane. Jamal Bowman just got his butt kicked in New York City because he's a complete anti-Semite and a whack job, and he likes to, pull fire alarms. Now, a leftist Democrat will take that seat. I'm of no illusions, but bottom line is this does not resonate even with the people of New York City, much less the people of the United States of America. So outside of the insane AOCs of the world, or the Bowmans of the world, who you got on the Democrat side of things to rebut? Gavin Newsom is the one name that comes to mind and comes to the lips of the people when you talk about the replacing of Joe Biden. So they don't have a lot. They don't have a lot. But they have to figure out if Joe Biden can manage to do this. If he can, they'll stick with him. If he can't, they'll replace him. That is my Biden replacement theory, and I stand by it. Now, watch what we wish for, folks. Because once again, if Biden falls flat on his face, I don't know how they do it. And people ask me, well, how are they going to do that, Matt? medical emergency, sitting him down, talking to Jill, convincing him that it's for the best of the party and the best of the future of the United States of America if we get somebody else in there that's younger and vigorous. I promise you, if his inner circle told him it was time to hang him up, he would hang him up. Joe, great job, did a wonderful thing for your country, for your nation. Thank you. Let's let the next guy take this on. However they do it, if you don't think they're willing to do it, I don't think you've been paying attention. Did you see the way they took advantage of COVID-19 in the 2020 election cycle? Did you see the shenanigans they pulled in states like Georgia and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and Michigan and beyond? Come on now. They will do anything and everything to retain power, to include lying to the American people, and Joe Biden will do plenty of that tomorrow night. Yes, they will jack him up on whatever drugs or whatnot that they had him on during the State of the Union address. Obviously, they'll do this. What say you? Sharon is next up in Fayetteville. As promised, I take all comers on the drive when I'm subbing in for Brian Wilson. Sharon, it's your turn. Good afternoon. Welcome.
Oh, good afternoon. I feel like a star. You have taken another one of my calls.
Well, Sharon, it is my pleasure to take your call.
Thank you. Here's my question. I thoroughly do not understand. It seems to me that the Democrats are running the show of this debate, and I want to know why. They're not even allowing an audience. And are the Republicans agreeing with all of this? I'm totally confused, and I need your help.
Okay. I think I can help you, Sharon. Do you want...
right.
I'll tell you what. I'll give you the answer while
I'll hang up and listen.
Okay, you keep listening. Thank you very much for the call. That's the way to get it done, Sharon. Give us a call, ask the question, and I'll give you my thought on it, and you can agree or you can disagree. It's all good. I think Donald Trump answered this question better than I possibly could. I forget what interview he was doing a couple of days ago. I had the clip. I had the quote. I've not heard it, but Donald Trump said as much in an interview that he gave the other day. They thought he was going to say no. So Donald Trump said anytime, anywhere, any place, Sharon, because he believed, and I did too, that Joe Biden would do and his handlers would do anything and everything they possibly could to get out of the debate or any debate. And so Trump said anytime, any place, anywhere, under any circumstances, I will debate Joe Biden. And they intentionally set up a dynamic that they thought Donald Trump would say no to. They thought that he would decline this debate. When they set it up with Jake Tapper and Dana Bash, two Trump haters on CNN, a Trump-hating organization with no audience, which helps Biden, hurts Trump, with cut microphones, helps Biden, hurts Trump. Every dynamic of this debate setting, and originally they had it in a sit-down environment so that Joe Biden wouldn't have to stand up for 90 minutes. And Donald Trump and his people within the Republican Party eventually got them to agree to have a stand-up conversation. So as Trump said, Sharon, they put this out there thinking that he would say no, so that they could then run around for the next 2 months and say, well, Joe Biden tried to debate Donald Trump, and Donald Trump said no. Joe Biden tried. Joe Biden's ready. So he called their bluff. That's called calling their bluff. Is that, you know what, we're in a poker game, and I don't think you have anything, and you shove all in on me, and I say, I call, and now you have to expose your cards. So the reason that they agreed to it, Sharon, is because you're not going to get the Democrats to agree to any level playing field when it comes to this debate. This is the best we could expect. And I hope that answers your question. It's 3:52 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN and The Drive.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Good afternoon. It is 4 p.m. and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Clouds and sun, 90 degrees on Music Row. A look at radar shows some storms bearing down on Fairview and Columbia. They're coming from the southwest and headed toward Nashville. A full forecast and the latest traffic report are on the way. We're getting word about day one of Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich's espionage trial in Russia. The State Department calling the proceedings a farce, adding that Gershkovich should never have been detained in the first place. The 32-year-old reporter was arrested for spying early last year. At today's hearing, State Department spokesman Matthew Miller said efforts remain in place to get Gershkovich and another American detainee, who's also accused of spying, Paul Whelan, to get them both out of Russian jail.
We've been working to bring both Evan and Paul home since they were detained. And as we've said, we have put a significant offer on the table some months ago. We continue to work privately to try to secure their release.
Heading out to Hollywood, new details on the investigation into last year's drug-caused death of Friends actor Matthew Perry. Alex Stone reports.
With the LAPD, Drug Enforcement Administration, and U.S. Postal Service nearing an end to their months-long investigation into the ketamine that took Matthew Perry's life, law enforcement sources now tell ABC News multiple people could be charged based on the case that will be presented to the U.S. Attorney. The focus on who supplied the illegal ketamine, there is no timeline for when a charging decision could be made.
Back here in Music City, a big benefit tribute concert's been announced in Nashville for next month.
Toby Keith died in February after a long battle with stomach cancer. He sold more than 40 million records, had 33 #1 hits, and now some of the biggest names in country music are going to pay tribute at Bridgestone Arena, including Luke Bryan, Eric Church, Ashley McBride, Carrie Underwood, Lainey Wilson, and others. The Toby Keith American Icon live concert event on July 29th will benefit Keith's charity and the Monroe Carroll Jr. Children's Hospital at Vanderbilt. Tickets go on sale Friday on Ticketmaster at 10 o'clock. Ken Weaver, WTN News.
And another quick programming reminder. Yeah, we're so excited about that presidential debate tomorrow night, and we are going to be carrying it here on Super Talk. So if you can't get near a TV, we'll have you covered. The debate set to begin at 8 o'clock right after that big radio event, the live event at Hop Springs and Murfreesboro tomorrow night. We hope you'll join us for that and the debate watch party. That is the latest news, traffic, and weather. They're next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com. It is indeed The Drive, Supertalk 99.7 WTN. My name is Matt Murphy, in for Brian today. Brian had a little procedure on his ring finger, and he'll be right as rain by tomorrow as we broadcast from Hot Springs in Murfreesboro in anticipation of the big debate tomorrow night, heard right here on Supertalk 99.7 WTN. Glad to be with you. Thank you for being with us. It is it's a good-looking day. It's a hot day, but it should be. It's June 26th after all. We appreciate you spending a little bit of time with us. Hope everybody's cool as can be. Hope your drive home, if you're already driving home, is going well one way or the other. Hope you're doing great and having a good afternoon. Chris Weber's behind the glass, making sure that everything that comes out of our speakers sounds as good as possible. We're taking your telephone calls in anticipation of the debate, asking the question, what do you expect out of the debate? Don't expect too much from Joe Biden. Donald Trump says that he is preparing. I don't know how he is preparing, and maybe there's a head fake, but says that he's not preparing by doing any mock debates. He's just going over policy positions and whatnot and going to a number of rallies. Obviously, his schedule is rather robust, particularly in the aftermath of the trial that was the lawfare trial that was going on for much of May and into the early parts of June. 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN if you want to get in here on the membersnutrition.com super text line or on the phone lines. Yesterday, the Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services, it was the Surgeon General under the guise of the Department of Health and Human Services, declared a public health crisis or a public health emergency regarding guns. And I want to discuss this during the first part of this hour after we take a few of your telephone calls on the aforementioned topic. Coming up later on this hour, we will talk with Robbie Starbuck. If you don't know Robbie, he's a great guy. He's a local activist. You can find him on social media platforms. He ran for the 5th Congressional District. I always have a good time talking with Robbie. And he gathered some information involving a local business. And I'm not one to call out these businesses willy-nilly. But some of the information that he's gathered is a little bit concerning. We'll also get his take on what he expects from the debate. Speaking of the debates, the line of the day, at least today, came from Vivek Ramaswamy, who has had something of a resurgence in terms of the possibility of being selected as a VP candidate. So the leader in the clubhouse is apparently Doug Burgum, the governor of North Dakota. J.D. Vance is also up there. Tim Scott is also up there. I've heard the name Ben Carson quite a bit. Marco Rubio is making waves. Although he's in Florida, he would have to move out of Florida, but that would be fine. And then Vivek Ramaswamy, which has Vivek supporters rather excited. I do believe that Vivek Ramaswamy will be a part of the Trump administration. Should he be selected as the next president of the United States of America, and certainly hope that he is. But I don't believe that he will be the vice presidential choice. That said, here's the line from earlier today on CNN, #NeverCNN, garbage network full of garbage people. When asked what he thought about the debate, here's what he had to say this morning.
I'll also tell you something I told President Trump, and I'll tell you as well, is I give him a lot of credit for doing this debate on the terms that were effectively set by Biden. Hosted by CNN in Atlanta without a live audience would be the equivalent of Joe Biden agreeing to do a Fox News hosted debate in Alabama with 3,000 live audience members. So I give Donald Trump a lot of credit for that. If you're going to lead the country, you got to be able to show up, and that's exactly what he's doing.
And they hated it. What's his name? Berman, or whatever his name is. Absolutely hated. I forget the guy's name. He's the guy that does morning. I haven't watched New Day in forever. Hated it. You could see on his face, just his face got all squinchy when he said it, that Donald Trump agreeing to do a debate hosted by CNN in Atlanta without a live audience is the equivalent of Joe Biden agreeing to a debate hosted by Fox News in front of an audience of 3,000 people in the state of Alabama. That is tip top and is absolutely the truth. As Sharon called last hour and asked the question, why would he agree to do this? It's because it's the only way that he's going to get on a stage with Joe Biden. And after you say anytime, anywhere, any place, you kind of have to follow through with that, and Donald Trump has. Donald Trump has actually said that he would have more debates scheduled if Joe Biden would agree to them. But in doing so, you would have to branch out beyond CNN. Already they've agreed to do one with ABC, which is just about as bad as CNN in terms of being in the bag for Joe Biden. And then what do? Eventually you have to look toward, dare I say, a right-leaning media organization such as Fox News or Newsmax or News Nation or whatever. And Joe Biden's not touching that with a 10-foot pole. That said, on the debate front, I would suggest this to you. Jake Tapper and Dana Bash are Trump haters. The evidence is clear. I could play you the montage. I've played it on my show. I would imagine you guys have heard it, where, Tapper's referring to Trump as Adolf Hitler, Dana Bash referring to Trump as Adolf Hitler. They don't like this guy whatsoever. So what do we expect them to do? They are going to try. They know what the perception is, and their egos are going to force them to try to come off as neutral. I expect that that's going to be the beginning, that they will ask a few questions of Joe Biden regarding, they'll ask a question about immigration. They'll ask a question about inflation. These are questions that probably have been floated to the team prior to the debate setting. I would not put that past them. I would not put it past them. CNN has done it in the past, and they'll do it again. I mean, Candy Crowley, as an example, long before Donald Trump took the national stage in politics, there was Candy Crowley of CNN defending Barack Obama in real time and going against Mitt Romney. And, oh, by the way, Mitt Romney was right. Y'all remember that? So CNN is willing to do these types of things. They just don't want to get caught. But they don't want to appear like they are. They want to try to somehow protect whatever bona fides they think they have. But they will not be able to help themselves. So watch this. If I were Trump, I would challenge Joe to answer the questions that CNN will not ask. And so I would regularly, embedded in my answers, ask questions of Joe Biden, daring him to answer them, and wait while Dana Bash and Jake Tapper rush in to defend Joe, such as, why did you lie about the laptop? Why did you lie about the 51 individuals screaming that the laptop was Russian disinformation when you knew it wasn't true? What did your family do with the $3.5 million that they were given by the Moscow mayor's wife? The Russian Moscow mayor's wife gave your family $3.5 million. What happened to that? These types of things to throw Joe off his game, because Joe's not going to want to deal with that, and Jake Tapper and Dana Bash will not be able to help themselves in their effort to defend Joe. They'll cut in, and as soon as they cut in, if I'm Donald Trump, if I'm standing on the stage, I'll debate Joe Biden until such time as the moderators turn into advocates. And when they do, I will look at them and I will say, Jake, Dana, I'm happy to debate you two. Let's you and I talk for a minute. Let me ask you a question. You can ask me a question. We can leave Joe out of this. If you want to take his side and take over as proxy for Joe, I'm happy to do that. I'm well prepared to do that. Just let me know. 615-737-9986. Cody is in McMinnville. Hey, Cody, how are you?
Good. How are you doing, Matt?
Doing great, friend.
Just bear with me. I'm kind of nervous, so
it's all good.
I have a question about the debate. Well, it's been on my mind since they scheduled the debate. What if, and it's hypothetical, what if Biden whops? There's a chance of him whopping the floor with Trump because Trump's going to be so confident. But I'm not for Biden. I just have a question. Could it go that way?
I don't know that Joe Biden has the ability. Maybe he did 4 or 5 or 6 years ago. Mm-hmm. Given what we've seen, unless there's something in this cocktail that I'm unaware of, I think Joe Biden has the ability to prepare and get up for a moment that is scripted. I don't know that Joe Biden has the full ability to do it without a script. Now, I could be proven wrong, but I don't think that equates to mopping the floor, as you put it, with Donald Trump.
Yeah, I've been kind of nervous about how Trump's gonna act. Is he gonna be kind of calm, or is he gonna go in there like he did the first time?
What I'm concerned with is, and maybe this is what you're saying, Cody, is that Donald Trump underestimates the ability that the Biden people have propping this guy up.
Exactly.
And, giving him one-liners to shoot off and these types of things. So, you know what? We'll see. I think Trump is fast enough on his feet. I think the differences will be obvious in terms of who's with it and who's not. I don't think you will be able to avoid the optics. And honestly, if history is any indicator, and thank you, Cody, for the call, what we saw during the State of the Union address last spring, if that's any indicator, the manner in which they got him up for that moment turned him angry. I mean, he came off. Go watch the speech. It was a prepared speech, and he was so hopped up, he interrupted the Speaker of the House, right? I mean, Johnson was supposed to introduce him. If you watch at the beginning, I mean, tradition indicates that the president comes in, he comes down the aisle, he shakes the hands, he does all the things, he does and then once he gets to the podium, that's when Speaker Johnson gavels in the assembled masses and says, ladies and gentlemen, assembled Congress, whatever the line is, I present to you the President of the United States. And then everybody stands up and they applaud again for 5 or 8 minutes or whatever. Joe Biden just got to the podium and plowed right in, forgetting the fact that Speaker Johnson was supposed to introduce him. And then from there, it was he went gangbusters, baby, with those cold, dead baby doll eyes. He just ran through that speech, angrily screaming at this person and this issue and that issue. This was not lunch bucket Joe. This was not affable, friendly, clap you on the back and have lunch with you, Joe. This was an angry old man. That's the way it came off. Now, I understand that if you are ideologically positioned to agree with Biden or the Democrats, you're going to excuse that as, Murphy, you just didn't like that he had all that energy and he was just full of pee and vinegar. Look, I understand what it's like, coming off angry all the time. Trust me. Trust me when I tell you that I understand what that's like. But if he comes off that way this time around, this is a different setting. I think it will be more noticeable. And if that's what they've got, if that's the cocktail that they mix for him, Angry Joe, in a setting with 3 people in the room, this is not with hundreds of people in the audience. This is with 3 people in the room, essentially. Tapper, Bash, and Trump. Handlers off stage or whatever, but I don't think it plays the same way. More on the debates coming up on Super Talk 99.7 WTN and Joe Biden's missing 7 days. I went through, I did a little daily calendar of what the day would be like for Joe. Like every 7 days, what is he doing all day? What is he possibly doing for the course of the day besides sleeping? Any ideas? 615-737-9986. It's 420 on Super Talk.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
The Speaker of the House speaking on what he foresees with tomorrow night's presidential debate. And we'll have today's closing money news. That comes up at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is 4:25. Glad to be with you, Matt Murphy. Until 7 tonight, we hand off to the great one, Mark Levin, in for Brian Wilson this afternoon. You know, really, it's all roads point to the debate tomorrow night. I'm not going to pretend otherwise, although there are other subject matters that I want to delve into. We'll do that in about 10 minutes with our good friend Robbie Starbuck, talking about this issue with Tractor Supply that he uncovered and talked about so much. If you follow Robbie on social media, maybe you've seen it. We'll discuss on the drive on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So, you know, what is the day like for Joe Biden? I asked that question. You know, so like 7 o'clock, wake up, make poopy. 7:03, realize you've made poopy, call for a diaper change.
Oh.
What, that's the one that's out of bounds? That's the way. It's going to get worse. 7:10, drugs, back to sleep. 9:35, wake up, start your day. You know, I mean, I don't know what they're doing all day.
Nude swim, maybe?
Oh, nude swim. That's a good one. Yeah. He likes that. He likes to walk around naked in the White House. That's what we're told.
Ice cream?
Oh, maybe some ice cream for breakfast. I mean, why wouldn't he?
Yep.
He doesn't know what day it is or what time it is, so why not? A little ice cream. That'll get him going a little bit. Maybe go sit in the Corvette for a little while, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe you got a Corvette with him?
Can't have him the keys, though. You just
let him sit there and just, do his thing in the Corvette, and he can go through some paperwork there in the garage. And he's got plenty of it, it's my understanding. I honestly, I don't know what you would spend 7 days doing. If you're the president and you're supposed to have at least a rudimentary command of these issues and what your position is on said issues, what are you doing? I guess you're practicing standing. You're getting your drug cocktail just right. I know we kid. I'm not kidding about this. I guarantee you they've tested the drug cocktails. That's part of what they're doing to make sure that they know when to give him the appropriate amount of stimulation. And I'm not saying any of this stuff's illegal, by the way, but there's no question they're giving the man stimulants in order to get him going so that he presents energetic to the American people. Skip is next in Dixon. Hello, Skip.
Well, hello. Yeah, I think he's recovering from surgery. Hasn't had an implant so they can feed him the answers.
You know what? That would be funnier if I did not think that it, potentially could be true.
I believe it's entirely possible. I really do.
Here's the thing, though, Skip, and I've heard this, and I understand the theory behind it, but just me and you talking, if there's somebody, the one thing that would screw Joe Biden up worse than him speaking for himself is him trying to talk with somebody talking into his ear.
Well, I agree. He can't even read the phone. Repeat the line.
Right. Pause. Repeat the line.
Yeah.
Stop. Can you see? I'm just imagining Joe Biden on stage tomorrow night screaming into the microphone, "Stop saying what I'm saying to you."
Absolutely. Thanks for taking my call, man.
Of course, Skip. Can you imagine? Like the person in his ear is saying, "Don't say this," and Joe, "Don't say this." No, don't say what I'm saying.
That would implode hilariously. I'd kind of like to see it, actually.
I mean, he's reading the stuff on the teleprompter. Why wouldn't he just repeat? Have you ever had that experience?
No, I have not.
I mean, obviously Wilson is the guy to talk to about this. I've had some experience with it on the television side of things, and unlike radio, where occasionally Weber, if he absolutely has to, can whisper into my ear something while I'm talking. Mm-hmm. But I am not the guy for that job, because those television people are incredible, because they can be fed information in one ear, continue saying what they're saying in the other ear, recognize what's being said to them in one ear, and keep going. And it is an art. It is a skill. And I promise you, Joe Biden does not have it. Jay Harper's got the skills, and he's got the headlines, and it's time for news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's 4:30.
Good afternoon. It's 4:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got a mix of clouds and sun, rain in some areas that's moved into parts of Middle Tennessee. We've got 90 degrees currently in Nashville. We'll get a full forecast and traffic to you in just a few minutes. U.S. House Speaker Johnson says that former President Trump should easily win tomorrow's debate with President Biden. ABC's Andy Field is covering things from Washington.
House Speaker Mike Johnson using his weekly government news conference to campaign for Donald Trump's win in the debate.
You're going to see a sharp contrast between President Trump's positive agenda and Joe Biden's proven weakness.
Speaker Johnson saying he spent time with the former president at his Florida home recently and that Mr. Trump is excited and ready for Thursday night.
And just another reminder, we will be airing the presidential debate tomorrow night on Super Talk. The debate set to air at 8 o'clock right after the live radio event with Dan, Chris, Matt, and Brian. They'll all be at Hop Springs and Murfreesboro tomorrow. We hope you'll join us for the radio event and then, of course, stick around and watch the debate with us. We now turn to today's closing money news with Chuck Severson.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. An up day. The Dow up 16 points. The S&P 500 gained 9. And the NASDAQ index up 88 points. Amazon Wednesday hit a stock market valuation of $2 trillion for the first time. Crude oil prices closed higher between about $80 and $85 a barrel. Volkswagen recalling more than 271,000 SUVs in the U.S. because the front passenger airbag may not inflate in a crash. Some Atlas and Atlas Cross sport vehicles are affected. Tesla recalling its futuristic new Cybertruck pickup for the fourth time in the U.S. to fix problems with trim pieces that can come loose and front windshield wipers that can fail. More than 11,000 trucks affected. Aer Lingus pilots say they will resume talks with the Irish airline after they launched an industrial action Wednesday. It led to cancellation of hundreds of flights, tossed travel plans of thousands into disarray. The pilots refused to work overtime.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Matt Murphy in the drive for Brian Wilson. Brian back tomorrow. Normally you hear me from noon until 3 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. I'm not one to present to you polling data. Brian and I talk all the time about how I kind of eschew polls because, oftentimes polls start with the phraseology, well, if the election were held today, which I always say, well, the election's not being held today. However, I'm going to, in the spirit of the drive, bring you some new polling data that looks pretty darn good for Donald Trump. We'll talk about that coming up in just a few moments. Right now, we're joined on our hotline, the Super Talk 99.7 WTN hotline, by good friend Robbie Starbuck. Obviously, Robbie he ran for the 5th Congressional District seat, currently held by Andy Ogles. He is well familiar with Tennessee and national politics. He is, I almost call him an activist. I think he's more than just that. He is a great conservative voice for the American people of this state and this country. And he joins us to talk about some of the expose that's been going on with him, particularly on his social media platforms, regarding Tractor Supply. And it's good to catch up with Robbie, generally speaking. Robbie, I hope you're doing well. How are you?
Hope you're doing well, too. I'm doing good. The storm just started, but I think it's going to pass here soon. So if you hear some thunder in the background, I'm fine. I'll survive.
This is how good you are, Starbuck, because I told myself to mention the fact that we're about to have storms, and then I forgot. And so my guest is, in effect, reminding me to let the folks know that storms might be coming your way if you're listening right now. So thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, I'm a little bit of a weather nerd. We got severe weather alerts. I don't think it'll be terrible or anything, but it's just one of those summer things. But this Tractor Supply situation is crazy. I don't know if you've caught the audience up at all, but essentially they brought in this CEO in 2020, and his hires, first 2 hires were insanely woke. One of them was actually at school where Obama was her professor and wrote a loving op-ed in CNN about how incredible he is. And then that person went on to become general counsel at CNN during the Trump administration. And then Hal brought her in at Tractor Supply as a vice president. And then another woman that he brought in to head HR also woke to the core and has gone and pushed up this group called PFLAG in meetings. PFLAG supports child sex changes, as absurd as that sounds. And then they've turned around and started to give money to a bunch of these woke LGBTQ groups, including Waco Pride Network, who, if you go to their website right now, you will see they're promoting a program right now to do summer camp for 6th graders, where they're doing it in conjunction with Planned Parenthood to teach them exclusively. This is an exclusively focused camp on sex. And so that's the type of organization that has received money. In fact, moments before I came on with you, I just released another piece of information, and that's that they gave $100,000 to a group called Conexión Americas that says, quote, they worked around the clock to stop deportations under the Trump administration. So, the natural question is, why would a company that's probably the most beloved company by conservatives in America turn around after, an entire lifetime of being an explicitly conservative company to give our money to these woke groups? And I also put out there, they also started, after Hal came in as CEO, a political PAC, which they've used to give tens of thousands, I think we're over $80,000 in the past 2 years, to Democrats in Congress nationally. And that also kind of makes you scratch your head, because Democrats don't represent that many rural areas.
So, Robbie, I want to back up. There's a lot of ways to tackle this, and you're way ahead of a lot of the audience with regard to your research on it. So I want to make sure that everybody's caught up. And one, by the way, congratulations. If you type in to the Google machine or your DuckDuckGo, which I would prefer, Robbie Starbuck and Tractor Supply, congrats. You've made pink news, Robbie. I don't know if you knew this or not, but they did a huge story about your reporting on Tractor Supply, which, I guess in some way that's complimentary. But so Hal Lawton is the CEO of Tractor Supply. How long has he been CEO? And do you believe all of this is happening because of his leadership?
I think it's happening because of his leadership, whether it's by, virtue of him not understanding what's going on right under his nose, or that he's pushing it. But it all started in 2020 when he came in as CEO.
Right.
And these 2 specific ladies that he hired, it seems to be, from my research, coming from them mostly. But he also explicitly, we have him on video saying that explicitly their goals and important focus is DEI, ESG, including explicitly hiring to increase their managers by 50% for black managers. So they're saying explicitly, we're going to look to hire more black people at the manager level, which, by the way, if merit bears that out, fantastic. Nobody cares what race you are if you're getting there on merit. But when you're saying up front, hey, we plan to do this and make sure that happens, I've been told they were keeping track by the store what the community demographics are and what the demographics of employees in the store are. And so if that's what's happening and you're then putting pressure to hire people based on race, I mean, to me, that sounds like race-based hiring, which I thought was illegal.
Right. No, there's no question. And to be clear, from my perspective, and I don't know where you are on it, Robbie, but I don't expect necessarily companies that I do business with to advocate for any particular political position, but I do expect that if they do, that they should anticipate a response by their customer base, especially when the vast majority of the customers of Tractor Supply, I would think, would be against the type of organizations that they're supporting that believe in, transgender surgeries for our youth, that believe in these types of drag performances and whatnot that you've exposed over the years in Tennessee and beyond. I mean, these are the types of activities that we're talking about Tractor Supply supporting, right?
Yeah, they funded a drag show as well. Down in Waco, and then here they funded Franklin Pride and Nashville Pride. The Pride Chamber here in Tennessee put them as one of the top companies. They were just up for an award from the Tennessee Pride Chamber. So this is explicitly woke stuff, and I think you're exactly right. Where you can kind of tell if you're on the side of sanity or not is you can look at what you're asking for. I'm not asking for them to donate to me, to groups that I like, to groups I donate to. I'm not saying go donate to every candidate I like. I'm saying, hey, go back to being a farm supply company, be a company, stop getting into social issues, just run a good company with good products, good customer service, and please every one of your customers. When you delve into all these political areas and you start saying, oh, you know what, we want this candidate to win this race, we want to push this social progress or that social progress. The HR person he hired said explicitly when she was hired, she did an interview and said she was looking forward to implementing.
And by the way, this is Melissa Kersey, right? Is that who we're talking about?
That's one of them. Yeah,
okay.
There's two ladies. Yeah. That's one of them.
Okay. Yep. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So that she wanted to implement a more progressive approach to the way that they were running things there. And I think, if that was the goal, she's hitting home runs because they definitely have gotten more quote unquote progressive by left-wing standards. So, the question is, what do you do now? And I think about all of these boycotts that have happened over previous years, and there's some that have been an absolute failure. And in those cases, I always say people were firing too many arrows, too many different places at companies that have very mixed demographics as their customer base, which is kind of a mess for a boycott because they can deal with maybe 5% of their customers being mad or 10% being mad. What made Bud Light different is that it was a vast majority male and conservative. It skewed conservative at least. Well, Tractor Supply is almost entirely conservative. Okay, so you couldn't come up with a better company to boycott than this to learn the ESG lesson that we do not want ESG, we do not want DEI, BlackRock are not your customers, State Street's not your customers, Vanguard, all these woke Wall Street places, they're not walking into Tractor Supply. We are. And we need to teach the companies that lesson so we get back to the idea in America that your customer is king. And if you can get back to that, you're going to see way less politics at stores, and we're going to go back to the standard of just saying, make good products, have good customer service. And that should be the goal. That's all I want. I just want that. And I think that's fair and sane, and that should be something everybody accepts. Because even if you're a Democrat listening right now, do you want all the companies you shop at to be donating to causes that I love? You want them donating to the gun rights groups that I donate to? I don't think you do if you're a Democrat listening to this. I mean, maybe you're one of the one in a zillion that supports the Second Amendment, but I doubt it. The vast majority of them are going to say, no, we don't want their money going there because I spend my money there and I don't want my hard-earned money going to something that I oppose. Well, we feel the same way as conservatives. We don't want our hard-earned money being spent with woke LGBTQ plus groups that want to push the trans agenda on children. And I don't think that's too much to ask.
Well, I look at it a little bit differently. I'm loath to use this platform to tell people specifically to boycott an organization. However, I think it's very, very close to saying to these folks, here's the information. And maybe I'm saying the same thing in a different way than you, Robbie. But Here's the information. You do what you need to do to support organizations that believe in your lifestyle, believe in your way of life, and believe in America that you believe in. And if you find that companies are doing things to actively work against that, maybe your dollar is best spent somewhere else. I mean, that's my position on it. And I guess we could call that a boycott in effect. But one way or the other, it accomplishes the same thing, and that making people aware of how companies are using the hard-earned dollars that they spend within those companies to affect change that might be against the basic core principles of the customers.
That's right. I think that's totally fair how you put it. And it's, sort of proof in the pudding with customers. This has been going on for 3 weeks. Tractor Supply locked down their social media accounts. You cannot respond to their posts on X or on Instagram right now because they don't want to hear the backlash from customers. In fact, I was told that customer service was explicitly told when people come into the stores, tell them to refer to asking media at the corporate office about this issue because they've been getting so many questions. But then look at the stock market. This week, 1 week, they have lost almost 10% of their value, which is over $2 billion in their market cap. So customers are showing their power, and I think the longer it continues, the more that power will be seen. I would encourage personally, on a personal level, away from my reporting on this issue, if somebody said, Robbie, what would you do if you were Tractor Supply? I would say, you know what? You've got to admit you did something wrong. Go out there, tell them how it's going to be different, that you strayed from your values as a company, you realize your error in doing that, and that you're willing to do the right thing now and make amends, and you understand it's going to take time to make trust build, but you want to have a trusting relationship with all customers from all political walks of life. And to do that, you have to take the sort of middle-of-the-road approach of being nonpartisan, getting out of all these woke groups like the CEI scores and the Bloomberg Equality Index and all that stuff. Just do good business, and people will respect that. It's like Chick-fil-A, okay? Chick-fil-A does good business. People keep coming back, even if they don't like the founder. They come back because the company's doing good stuff, and they got away from, politics that people were upset about and instead just said, we're going to make a good product.
Well, and the difference there, too, is that Chick-fil-A never had policies that reflected some of the accusations being made against them.
Exactly.
It was merely It was merely the ownership of the company that had certain Christian-based positions that some of these organizations disagreed with.
And that's how he should do it. If he wants to support these groups, I would not begrudge. I wouldn't punish Tractor Supply for it. He makes $11 million a year. He wants to spend that on the woke causes he supports. He can do that, and that's America. That makes America special. I'm not trying to cancel an individual's ability to do that in any way, and that should be very clear. Individuals should always be free to support what they want to support. But when companies do it, it crosses a barrier for a lot of people, and I think that, as a company, Tractor Supply, they owe it to their customers to get out of the politics and just do good business again.
Where do people go, though, Robbie? I mean, a lot of people love Tractor Supply. It's tough. It's a little bit tougher than Bud Light, right? I mean, because there's a lot of options. I don't know how many options there are. I would agree with you that people might want to look to more local options. There are local co-ops available to them. I mean, what do you do? I mean, you got a farm out there. What are you doing right now?
So I split it between local co-op here in Franklin, and then there's there's a farmer that I'm good friends with, the Redhead Farm, and he's got a bunch of stuff that he's been able to sell to me as well. So between the two, I've got everything I need. But, that's also why I don't judge what anybody does as an individual. If you've got a farm and you don't have another local option, I'm not a Puritan that's going to be like, oh, you horrible person for going. I get it. You have a farm. You got stuff you need to do. You got stuff you need to get. I get it. But if you have that other option, and most rural areas do, then go to that co-op, go to that other place, go to that farmer down the road that's got some extra hay to sell. It's worth it to go that extra mile, in my opinion, because also, again, you're supporting local, and I don't think there's anything better we can do than that. And I think that was a good reminder for me about this whole thing, that the more we can support local farmers, local businesses, the better. And that's something I'm going to endeavor to do more and more every day in my life, is how can you get away from sort of the larger corporate hold and really reward the small businesses locally.
Great stuff from Robbie Starbuck. Follow him on the X Machine and other platforms. Robbie Starbuck, spell it with a Y. And Robbie, you know how much we appreciate everything that you do. I appreciate you, and we'll talk to you again very soon.
Talk to you soon. Appreciate you, too. You got the best show on radio.
All right, man. I appreciate you. You're very kind. Robbie Starbuck, thank you so much. It's 52 after the hour. It is getting dark outside. We'll update you on that next. Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Good afternoon. It is 1 minute past 5 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Kind of the top story here locally right now. Some storms moving through the area. We're at 89 degrees, but we are dealing with some severe storms in the area affecting the mid-state. We're looking at the areas most affected. Franklin, Murfreesboro, they've already had a good bit of rain and some storms blow through there that has resulted in some power outages there. So again, just this entire listening area here for WTN affected. You may see some wind gusts up to 50 miles an hour. So please just be extra careful. We'll get a full forecast to you. And Jack Womack's traffic report here in just a moment. We are getting word about day one of Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich's espionage trial in Russia. The State Department emphasizing that the proceedings were a farce and that he shouldn't have been detained in the first place. At today's hearing, State Department spokesman Matthew Miller said that U.S. embassy officials were not even allowed to speak to Gershkovich.
What happened today was a performance put on by Russian authorities to justify their repression of journalists and independent voices.
Back here in the USA, 2 Romanian nationals are facing felony hate crime charges for robbing Hispanic people in Southern California. ABC's Blake Trolley, he tells us what they're accused of doing.
The 2 men are accused of robbing at least 11 people while pretending to be ICE agents, FBI agents, or local police. Orange County DA spokeswoman Kimberly Ed says the 2 would threaten people with deportation if they did not hand over their cash and debit cards.
The irony is that these 2 men are pretending to be immigration agents while they're also believed to be in the country illegally.
Both guys were arrested earlier this month. They're also facing charges including kidnapping in Contra Costa County.
Back in Middle Tennessee, an Illinois man facing numerous charges related to child sex crimes. The Hendersonville Police Department said it launched an investigation into Matthew Moklak. He's 19 years of age, and he's been investigated for sexual exploitation of a minor. That investigation led to U.S. Marshals executing arrest warrants last week at the man's home up in Villa Park, Illinois. Authorities say the charges against Moklak include 20 counts of especially aggravated sexual exploitation of a minor, along with 1 count of solicitation of a minor and 1 count of continuous sexual abuse of a child. Police today said that Moklak is currently being extradited to Sumner County. And again, I know we keep talking about it, but boy, we want you to join us. That presidential debate tomorrow night will be airing on Super Talk if you can't be near a TV. The debate is set to air at 8 p.m. It's right after the special live radio event at Hop Springs in Murfreesboro. Dan, Chris, Matt, and Brian, they're all going to be there. We hope you'll join us for the radio event and then stick around and watch the debate with us. We are excited about it. That is the latest news, traffic, and weather there next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
It is the Drive 508. Good afternoon. Hope you're doing well, and I hope you are remaining dry. If you're in downtown Nashville, there is a gully washer, a frog strangler, as my grandparents used to say, happening right now in the metro area. In the Music City, the rain is coming down. Unto each life some rain must fall. I'm just looking at the radar here. By the way, it's Matt Murphy in for Brian Wilson. Brian is out today. Had a bit of a little procedure on the ring finger of one of his hands, I think his left hand, but he's doing just fine, according to Cabana Wife, and he'll be back at 3 o'clock, not in the proverbial studios of Watertown, in, what does he call it, bucolic Watertown, but he will be in Murfreesboro tomorrow as we begin our preview of the presidential debate tomorrow night. You'll hear that right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, presenting that to those of you who are unable to watch. It's always a good thing to watch rather than to, I mean, I don't want to take away from those of you who prefer to listen, and maybe there are some of you out there that prefer it. I wouldn't want to take a single ear away from Super Talk 99.7 WTN when I say this. However, you get a different perspective when you view it than you do when you listen to it. And I think we need to look at the body language of Joe Biden, or the lack thereof. We need to look at what's going on in his eyes. We need to look at the body language of Donald Trump and, frankly, of the moderators who aren't very neutral in this environment, or not expected to be tomorrow night at all. So your thoughts and comments on the preview happening tomorrow. We will preview from 3 until 7, or 3 until 8 o'clock, I should say, really. Brian starts his show at 3. The gang will join in as we get there, present and accounted for at Hot Springs in Murfreesboro, and you are invited to be there as well. Come by, say hello to us, have yourself a beverage of your choosing, sit down, settle in, and enjoy the proceedings, and we'll all watch the debate together. Now, as far as the weather goes, it is coming down in Nashville. There's a line of storms that is about to pop Clarksville, and it's coming from the northwest to the southeast. There's a little bit of a bow in there. So it's happening in Nashville right now, about to hit Hendersonville, about to hit Smyrna. These are not, don't fear. To my knowledge, there are no tornadoes expected to come out of this line of storms. It is just a severe thunderstorm line, as pop up from time to time in our area. And so right now, Nashville's getting popped. Brentwood, you just got hit. Franklin, you just got popped. Smyrna, it's coming your way. And before you know it, it'll get to Murfreesboro. You know how these things go, from west to east. And generally speaking, there's an angle to the dangle in that line of storms that forgive me for anything I say from now until 7 o'clock, because I think I might die based on what just happened over the last 5 minutes.
You got a little wet.
You wouldn't go.
That's not my truck. I didn't leave my windows rolled down.
Well,
neither did you, apparently.
I was about to say, not to bury the... Neither did I. So I have attempted to, over these hot afternoon days, when I get in at noon, or just before, I normally get here around 11:15, start my normal show at 12 noon, and I have been trying to keep my back windows cracked a little bit, a little airflow, prevent the greenhouse effect, if you will.
Yeah.
So it's not so dastardly hot when I get into the truck around 3:30, 4 o'clock. And because I've done that over the last several days, I saw this rain shower going, and this bolt of fear went through me. Oh my goodness. I rolled my back windows down. And so I run into Weber and I say, Chris, will you go out? No, I didn't. I didn't actually ask him. I should have. I said, how much time do we have? Oh, Jay's just starting the newscast. And so I ran out. I saw a random umbrella in the hallway. I grabbed the umbrella, which didn't do me any good because it was raining sideways. And I ran out into the parking lot and ran to my truck and got soaking wet, feet, legs, shorts, shoulders, the whole bit. And I got to my truck and my windows were up, which is just the worst. And what did you say? What did you say a minute ago?
I don't remember now.
You said better safe than sorry. And I left the room and said something about that comment, and I won't repeat it here on the radio.
Yeah. It happened to fade out. That door closed right as you were saying it.
Better safe than sorry. Anyway, so I am operating under duress here on the drive on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I hope you are dry. wherever you might be. And be safe out there if you're driving home. It'll be there when you get there, as the saying goes. So we just want you safe and sound. That's the primary goal here. And there are a lot of rain showers coming down, a lot of storms coming down in our area.
And Matt, I did get a phone call a minute ago warning about some standing water that's basically across the interstate, the 65 heading northbound. People are going like 10 miles an hour. People have been spinning out because of all the ponding water. So a lot of water falling in a short period of time. It's going to take time for it to make its way off these roadways. So
and especially on our interstates. I found that there are portions of I-40, and I'm coming to and from Mount Juliet. I know 65 has some of those places too, obviously, as you just mentioned. So, yeah, be careful. I mean, and obviously, I feel like you're all grown and you hear these things often enough that you know it by rote, but it, bears repeating that if you encounter a place where there's a lot of water, don't go across it. If you don't know how deep it is and it's not worth it, just turn around and make your way some other way to wherever you happen to be going and just slow it down. Once again, it'll be there when you get there. But you know all of those things. All right, 514, Supertalk 99.7 WTN. Lots to get into during the drive time hours leading us to 7 o'clock. Here's the deal. I hesitate to delve into polling data because I recognize a poll as a snapshot in time. And recognizing that, I understand that if you put enough of these together, you can get a sense, and Brian tells you this all the time, you can get a sense of a direction where the country is heading with regard to their attitude about a certain thing. And you put enough of these Polaroid snapshots, if you think of it that way, Polaroid snapshots in time together, and you get a sense of trends. I understand how that works. I also understand that a poll, everything about a poll is embedded in how the questions are asked and whether or not the pollsters in question want to gain or want to get to a certain conclusion, or are they earnestly and honestly trying to figure out where the American public or the public of the state of Tennessee or whatever region happens to be polled, are they genuinely trying to get to the legitimate outcome of where people are, or are they attempting to get to their particular outcome? And what I have found is that, sadly, a lot of these media organizations, they conduct polls to make news. And in doing so, they put their thumb on the poll. The latest ABC Washington Post poll indicates that Donald Trump is not performing well amongst Americans in California or Washington. They put the poll in certain terms and they ask questions in certain ways in order to lead to an outcome that they desire. And then they print the headline. So they conduct the poll to create news. In other words, you understand what I'm saying? That they don't have a news headline today, but if they engage in a poll for 3 days, then they have their headline, whatever the headline might be. And if you put your thumb on the poll enough, you can get the headline that you want. Trump fading, Biden rising, whatever it might be. All of that to say, you need to find, for those that look at polls as those snapshots in time, I don't begrudge you for doing so. I just do it less than others. But I got to tell you, if you find trusted polls, if you find trusted sources, and you lean on those, and there are some, believe it or not, out there, you will see, and this is a polling service that I believe in wholeheartedly, although I cannot pronounce their name. It's QUINNIPICA, or IAC. Quinnipiac. That's the way I'm going. I always mangle it. People always correct me. I think I did it right that time. I will not do it right again.
I've heard it Quinnipiac.
Quinnipiac?
Yeah.
Not Quinnipiac. Okay, I'll go with you. I don't. Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
Let's call it the Q poll.
Yeah, the Q folks have a poll up, and on May 22nd, during the trial of Donald Trump, the Q poll had Biden up in the national head-to-head matchup, 48 to 47%. They came out with a new poll today, and some interesting dynamics in this poll. Trump is up 49 to 45%. And if you dig a little bit deeper in the poll, you'll find that it gets even better for Donald Trump. The question asked, and I always love, for me, if you don't show me the specific questions that you asked, I'm not even looking at your poll. Because I want to know how you're asking the question. I want to know if you are putting that proverbial thumb on the scale or not. And in this case, question 1, if the election for president were being held today, it's not. It's my least favorite part of the poll, but whatever. Forgive it. And the candidate were Joe Biden, the Democrat, and Donald Trump, the Republican, for whom would you vote? Includes leaners. Amongst registered voters, Biden is at 45%, while Trump is at 49%. Amongst Republicans, Donald Trump has 93%. I don't understand this. What 4% of Republicans across the United States of America say that they're voting for Joe Biden? I mean, I understand Republicans not voting for Donald Trump, I suppose, but voting for Joe Biden, are you kidding me? Similarly, 4% of Democrats said they're voting for Donald Trump, which if you're a self-described Democrat, I don't quite understand. But here's where the poll gets even more interesting. Donald Trump has a commanding lead amongst all men, 59% to 37%. Biden has a slight lean amongst women, 53% to 40%. And in terms of further breakdown of these demographics, it gets even better for Donald Trump as Biden has only 76% of black voters supporting him right now. And Donald Trump has 19% of the black vote, according to the Q poll, the Quinnipiac poll. Let me tell you something. I don't necessarily believe that it will end up this way. But if Donald Trump manages to secure 20% of the black vote, this thing's not going to be close. Traditionally, for informational purposes, the Republican candidate gets less than 10% of the black vote. I'm saddened to report that to you because I think Republicans, generally speaking, libertarians or Republicans have more to offer than the Democrat political plantation, as I call it. But if these numbers are accurate and Donald Trump has almost 20% of the African-American vote right now, turn out the lights. The party is over for the Democrats. And if they can't figure out how to shore that base up and shore it up pretty quickly, you see, they're on the fence. As we talked about earlier today, they don't know what to do with Joe Biden right now. Part of the reason why there's a debate tomorrow night is they're trying to figure it out. They're trying to figure out whether to go with this guy, whether he can shore up support. He doesn't have the energy. He doesn't have the vitality. He doesn't have the ability to go into some of these communities and do what is necessary to gen up the support. Now, as foolish as I think it is, did you see AOC the other day jumping around on stage, acting like I don't know what she was. I mean, I guess that's what the Bronx wants. I mean, she's jumping around. Come on, Bronx! I mean, it's like a concert, and she's screaming and yelling, "Let's go! Let's fight! Let's make it happen!" Using language, by the way, that after January 6th, I was told we weren't supposed to use. Are you gonna fight? Are you ready to beat them? What? You're talking about beating people? Oh my goodness gracious! But at very least, as much of a weirdo as I think this woman is, and as vacuous as I think she is. I mean, she offers nothing in terms of rational policy position. But she wins her primary elections, boy. She won. I mean, Jamal Bowman lost, and she won despite her efforts to help Jamal Bowman in his primary. But she gets them going. She's got energy, in other words. She doesn't have a lot upstairs, but she's got a lot of energy and vitality. Joe Biden has none of those things. Upstairs, energy, vitality, 0 on all 3 counts. So what do you do if you're a Democrat? How do you get into these communities that you are obviously losing and win them back over if your candidate doesn't know his butt from a hole in the ground? Well, it's a good question. And thankfully, it's one that I don't have to ask or answer because my candidate of choice, he seems to have the energy. Even at 77 years of age, he's got a lot of it going around. 523 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN on this stormy Wednesday edition with no Brian Wilson. Matt Murphy in for Brian. Back in a moment with your calls right after this. Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
The U.S. State Department speaking out on the Russian espionage trial of a Wall Street Journal reporter. And in Murfreesboro, things don't go quite as planned for some attempted ATM thieves. And yes, we are still under a severe thunderstorm warning. We'll have those stories coming up at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Jay Harper. It is 5:27 right now. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The Drive with no Brian Wilson, Matt in for Brian, 615-737-9986. Coming up in a moment, the Surgeon General. What does the Surgeon General do? I mean, honestly. I mean, I'm sure they make a lot of money. When I was a kid, the big controversy was the Surgeon General was wanting us to learn about condoms in school. I don't know if you guys remember that or not. Surgeon General said it, and a lot of conservatives got very angry about it. You don't need to teach my kids about, I mean, they were talking, about bringing in bunches of bananas, and it was a bad deal all the way around. Bad deal. The United States Surgeon General does what? If you had to answer me, I don't know. It seemed like the one time that I knew about the Surgeon General was when I would pick up a pack of cigarettes and smoke some cigarettes, and there was always a Surgeon General's warning. Smoking is addictive and may cause cancer, whatnot. Well, the Surgeon General, anybody by show of hands, who can tell me who the Surgeon General is? Weber? We're looking it up. Can you tell me?
No.
Harper? Does Harper remember? He's been reporting on this story.
Well, I remember his first name is Vivek, only because, he's got the same first name as Ramaswamy,
Yeah.
But, he is of East Indian descent, from what I understand.
Not to be confused with my people, the Murphys. He is Murthy. Murthy. No relation. Vivek Murthy issued an advisory yesterday on firearm-related violence that we're going to talk about coming up in the few minutes that we have remaining after we have a conversation with Tim Burchett. But I don't know that we're going to have that conversation because I was just told that he's still on the floor of the United States House of Representatives, and apparently they frown on him doing interviews from the floor for some reason. In the meantime, there's Gary in Springfield. Hey, Gary, I hope you're being safe out there.
I am. I'm getting a free car wash.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, I'm sitting here in a Kroger parking lot. Real quick, I had an interesting event happen yesterday. I was in a Kroger, in Walmart. I was in the men's underwear section, and there was a big, tall, black gentleman come up to me, happened to see my Marine Corps tattoo, and thanked me for my service and all. And I said, I actually make a career out of the military. And then he says, gosh dang, he said, all those years of service and everything that y'all did for the country, only to we're under a government that's destroying us, and there's that moron idiot up there that I voted for, and I mean one thing after another. And I'm going, whoa, and this guy, he let me know that he's a typical black man that votes Democrat. He said, I'm voting for Trump. He said, my life has just gone south. Everybody has. This man is a fool. And I don't like these lefties. They show who they are. And he blamed the Republicans for any problem that happened. And Trump is blameless for anything. And I went, gosh, dang, 45 minutes he offloaded. I thought I was listening to you.
Look, Gary, I love it. I love hearing those stories. I thank you for them. Be safe out there in the Kroger parking lot. I appreciate your telephone call. We'll get to more of those in a moment. It's 5:31. Right now, it's time for news with Jay Harper.
It is 5:31, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Some severe rainfall in many parts of the WTN listening area. The line of storms up around Hendersonville and Clarksville in that area at the moment. So, hey, it's headed toward Gallatin and areas northeast, so just be on the lookout. We're 89 degrees with a storm here in the Music Row area. We'll have the latest traffic report and a weather report in just a few minutes. The U.S. State Department today said Russia is holding a show trial for a detained American reporter and demanded that the country immediately release this man and other political prisoners, ABC's Andy Field reports.
As Russia began its claimed spy trial against Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich, the United States responded that he should not be in prison for doing his job.
Journalism is not a crime, and that Evans should never have been detained in the first place.
State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller calling this trial in Russia a performance and demanding they release Gershkovich and another wrongfully held American, Paul Whelan, immediately.
Back here in Middle Tennessee, the Murfreesboro Police Department, they're looking for 3 people who reportedly used a stolen pickup truck and a crowbar to try and pry open an ATM. Police were sent to investigate investigate a burglary alarm at the Ascend Federal Credit Union on West Clark Boulevard in Murfreesboro about 2 in the morning on Sunday. When the police got there, they found that the ATM was damaged, but it was still in place where it was supposed to be. The police department released surveillance video that appears to show a man trying to pry open the ATM with a crowbar, and at the same time, there's another guy who's attaching a chain to the truck's tow hitch to try to dislodge the ATM by driving away, but the chain broke. Despite their efforts, police said the suspects were unable to get any money out of all this. Police confirmed that the truck the suspect used was indeed a stolen red GMC Sierra. Should anybody have any information about any of this, they asked that you please contact Murfreesboro Police. You know, tomorrow night's going to be a big night. It's going to be a big night on WTN as we indeed cover the presidential debate. We'll have it here on Super Talk beginning at 8 o'clock. That's right after the live event with Dan, Chris, Matt, and Brian in Murfreesboro and Hop Springs. We look to see you there, and we hope you'll stick around and watch the debate with us. That is the latest news, traffic, weather. It's all on the way. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. In moments, we will speak with Congressman Tim Burchett. Always good to catch up with the Congressman. I have not spoken with him since his fine performance on the baseball field in Washington, D.C., as the Republicans dispatched of the Democrats. We'll start there when we speak to the Congressman. I'll say this one. During the break there, I was looking at some artificial intelligence, and it is Jake Tapper. This is AI of Jake Tapper introducing the debate tomorrow night. And it's obviously a satire. It's a fake. You ever watch some of this stuff and wonder where we're going in 10 years?
Oh, yeah, I know where we're going. We're doomed.
Doomed. I have shied away from this stuff. You know, I talk to Hand about it often during our crossover between his 9 to noon show and my noon to 3 show, and he loves this stuff. He thinks it's funny. And I don't begrudge those that do. It gives me the heebie-jeebies. Just real quick. Listen.
Hello and welcome to the first 2024 presidential debate hosted by CNN. I am Jake Tapper, and somewhere around here is my colleague, Dana Bash.
I mean, that's Jake Tapper. You can tell that
he said Dana, so that's kind of a giveaway.
I'd like to set the ground rules to this debate. First off, Biden is allowed to speak whenever he wishes.
Oh.
We will have commercial breaks whenever
they've got Joe Biden in a hospital bed.
Whenever Biden feels the urge, so that his needs can be taken care of.
Jill with depends.
This may or may not include naps, energy boosts, or a snack such as ice cream. On the other hand, Trump is not allowed to speak unless spoken to, and if he interrupts Joe speaking, we're automatically going to deduct 10 points from Trump and Dorr. As the hall moderator of this debate, I can call it off at any moment and declare it a complete victory for Biden. Where did Trump go? He was just here.
And then Donald Trump attacks Jake Tapper in this little video and starts beating the crap out of him. Anyway, I'm amazed at where AI has taken us. Maybe AI comes from UFOs. I don't know. Congressman Tim Burchett might know something about this. He joins us to talk about the debate tomorrow night, amongst other things happening on Capitol Hill. Tim, always good to catch up with you. Let's start here. Congratulations to the Republicans, and congratulations to you, Burchett. I was watching. I took screenshots. If I'm not mistaken, you walked in your plate appearance. Did you not?
I did, and my shoulders are still sore from carrying this team.
What did y'all score? 31 runs? Is that right?
Oh, it's pathetic, man. I mean, it was like we called people from drunks out of the stands who had $28 worth of beer in them, which is 2 beers, by the way. It's like $7 a tall boy or something up there. And we were calling them out to come play on the team because we were getting tired from running the bases. It was awful.
Well, you know what? You Republicans got to take a victory where you can get it in Washington, D.C. There have not been many coming lately, at least to my tally.
Sure. I agree. You're right.
Look, if I gave you the opportunity to set up the first question for Trump v. Biden tomorrow night, I mean, in all seriousness, what do you think Trump needs to do? And are we setting the bar of expectations too low for Joe? It feels like if Joe manages to stand upright for 90 minutes, the Democrats are going to declare him the victor.
Well, I said this to President Trump. I was the last person to ask a question. He called on me, and he actually said my first name. He says, "Tim, what do you need?" And I said, "Well, Mr. President," I said, "I would."
Hey, hold on, stop, hold on. You can work on that. You need to work on your Trump.
That's a great Trump. Yeah.
Okay.
What do you need? Anyway, he says my last name, Burchett. That's how he says it. That's perfect. That was spot, Burchett. Anyway, so the president calls on me. I said, "Mr. President, you're doing a great job of telling everybody what's wrong. You know, we're paying $600 more a month just to live on groceries. The border's a disaster. 14 million illegals. We're paying billions of dollars of upkeep for them. The crime, the death, destruction they're causing. We're laughed at all across the world right now because of our leader." I said, but I told him I think what he needs to do is tell us how we can fix this stuff. And the way we fix it is we build a wall. We start enforcing our dadgum laws. We quit giving our great-grandchildren's money away and borrowing it from China, and he agreed with me. So I hope he works some of that into it. But I know it's going to be too easy. But look, I was on CNN this morning, and I said, debates, my theory on debates are, and feel free to make it your own, you bring your side, I bring my side, and we both leave thinking we won. And both sides will take stuff out of context and use it, on ads. That's about all these things are worth. Nobody's paying any attention to these debates. We used to have, I believe it was two brothers that were running for governor in this, and I can't remember what year. It might have been the 1800s. But anyway, and they just traveled the state. And they'd throw a stump out there, and then they would stand on it. That's, it's called stumping. And they would literally take questions from people and discuss the ideas and do things like that. And this isn't a debate. This is some CNN concocted garbage fest. And, Hillary Clinton put out a tweet yesterday, and I'll probably end up committing suicide by shooting myself in the back of the head 12 times or fall off a cliff somewhere or something. But she put out a tweet, said, what would be your recommendation, for the, she said, these are my recommendations. What would you add to it? And I said, get somebody to leak you the questions like they did to you the last time.
Amen.
So that's what, nobody trusts this process. And I was on CNN this morning and I called them out for that. And they poo-pooed it. But you all know everybody knows it's the truth. And it's been documented. So I don't think it's going to amount to anything. Everybody's going to watch it. And Biden's going to trip up for a little while. Yeah, he's going to be jacked up on, Mountain Dews or something to keep him going. But I just think it's ridiculous. I don't think it's going to amount to anything. And
does it scare that? But does it scare the hell out of you for a moment? I mean, as a sitting congressman, you're one of 435 that you are given the solemn responsibility to try to direct this country in the proper way. Moving forward to protect the liberty and sovereignty of this great nation. That said, does it frighten you at all that our commander-in-chief, the leader of the free world, needs over 7 days to prepare for a 90-minute debate? I mean, what the hell are they doing with his people?
Well, that's why we got the sergeant at arms getting ready to arrest
Merrick Garland. You going to arrest him?
Yeah, Garland. Yeah. I mean, no, we're going. That's why we're trying to get that bill up. We had a press conference on it this morning. But I said, in the lawsuits over the transcripts where he said, and the lawyer said he's an old man who's forgetful and he's not fit to stand trial. And this is the guy that has the nuclear football and has the nuclear codes. It literally has his finger on the button.
Well, isn't that the answer for Trump, though? I mean, I understand what you're saying about people not paying that much attention to the meat and potatoes of the debate. It's all about sound bites. It's all about getting the sound bites for posterity down the road. And I think it's the perfect response if and when Joe Biden brings up the fact that Donald Trump is a convicted felon. Donald Trump says, well, not only, what I would advise him to say, and far be it from me to offer him advice, but not only was it a dog and pony show trial conducted by you and your Department of Justice through the city of New York and the state of New York, but at least I was found competent enough to actually stand trial, unlike you, Joe Biden, because one of your own special prosecutors declared you incompetent to stand trial. I mean, there's your answer, right?
Absolutely, 100%. But the thing you got to worry about with Trump is, he's going to lose his cool, and then they're going to go, and then he's going to, he'll unleash on him. And and honestly, I think that's what people want to see. They want him to go Trump on him. And again, it's not going to determine the outcome of this election.
Do you believe, but Tim, do you believe like I do? I think this is a test case for the Democrats more than anything. I don't think they think it's early enough that it won't move the needle one way or the other, but they need to make sure that this guy can withstand the rigors of a campaign for the next 4 months. And if he can't, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, I think the needle's bottomed out. I mean, I think we're not getting the full story on where the needle is. You got to, this clown they just hired is another dude in a dress. His DEI gone crazy. And I think that they've
Tyler Cherry is the guy. Yeah, Tyler Cherry is the guy you're mentioning, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think they've hit the bottom. They know they got to bring their hard left base in. That's why they're doubling down on all these crazy left-wing issues, because they know if they don't have that far left base, they lose everything. So they're pushing that. They're pushing that agenda. And then now that's all they have left. Black folks are leaving them. Hispanic folks. I had a lunch last week with a guy, I think it might have been Monday. No, I'm sorry, it was last week, with a Hispanic fella and his wife. Very successful, came here, got an American citizenship. They love Trump. You know why they love Trump? Because he backs it up.
Mm-hmm.
He says it and he does it. Black folks are tired of it. These people that are stuck in these inner cities are sick and tired of this stuff. They've been promised, better schools, education, health care. Their kids are in danger. Their schools are failing, and inflation's taken everything they got. Everything they've been promised, they've taken from them, and they're losing them. And that's why they're going to this hard left, these white liberals and wealthy elitists, a lot of them. And I think that's why they're pushing this far left agenda. So that's where we're at with this thing. I think their numbers are in the tanks, and they know it, and they're just afraid they're going to lose everything. And I still think it's time for them to ditch him. They might just be setting him up to ditch him anyway.
Well, that's my I call it my Biden replacement theory. I think the reason they're having this debate this early is to make sure that it's time to get somebody new, and they'll ditch him for somebody new. That's my take on it.
I would agree with you 100%.
Burchett, thank you so much for your time. Give me one more little Donald Trump, one more little piece of Donald Trump before you go.
Well, here's what one of his guys told me. I said, how the heck does he get my name right? I mean, I'm on CNN. I was on the House floor just a minute ago, and the speaker was like, the person who's standing in for the speaker was like, Burchett. They never got it right. Trump always gets it right. I said his guy says he stands in front of the mirror, and they say, how do you say his name? And they go, Burchett. And he sits there and goes, Burchett. And that's how he gets my name right. So... And I dig that, because he's never, ever since I was a candidate to 6 years later, I'm in Congress, he's never gotten my name wrong.
You're like Beetlejuice. He says your name 3 times and you show up.
Well, I don't know about that. I'm not really on the inner circle like a lot of these cats are, but I'm good where I'm at. So thank you, brother. Hey, thank you so much. And I enjoy being over in Middle Tennessee. I've been over there a bunch here lately. Maury County, Andy Ogles had me over, and I was Statesman's dinner, and I'm speaking to a bunch more groups, and I think maybe one in Clarksville and some of these other groups.
Let me know when you're around. Come on by. I'll say your name right, okay?
Well, you're a tightwad. You won't even buy me a chili dog, so I don't know, dude.
Well, I'll buy you something. We'll figure it out. Okay. See you, Burchett.
All right.
Take care.
Brother.
There's
Thank you.
Tim Burchett. Here comes Jay Harper soon with the news, but right now we've got to do this. It's 5:53 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Good evening. It is 1 minute past 6 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. The big story at the moment is weather. We are still dealing with some severe storms in parts of the mid-state. Portland, Springfield, areas to the northeast of Nashville, still dealing with some pretty severe storms. We've had down power lines, some power outages, as well as some down trees in Franklin, Murfreesboro reporting some issues as well. It's just wet, and there are some severe storms out there, so just be on the lookout. We'll get a complete forecast and the traffic, which is a mess, as you can imagine. We'll get that report to you here shortly. A mistake at the Supreme Court. The premature posting of what looks like the decision in a closely watched abortion case. ABC's Stephen Portnoy, he reports from Washington.
A Supreme Court spokeswoman says a document about a ruling was posted inadvertently and briefly on the court's website. It's no longer available, and no decision of the High Court is final until it is formally released. But Bloomberg News reports this posting indicated the court will allow emergency abortions to continue in Idaho for now under a lower federal court order, despite state law saying they can only be performed to prevent the death of the pregnant woman.
Back here in the mid-state, a woman hit a house with her car, which then caught fire this morning. That's according to Metro Police. The Metro Nashville Police Department Hermitage Precinct said they responded to reports of a serious crash about 10:30 this morning. The woman who drove the car into the home, she's the one that made the first call to police. When the police arrived in the neighborhood near the 1300 block of Quail Valley Road in Hermitage, police said they found major damage to the home, and after hitting the house, the car exploded. Responders were able to put the fire out. Thankfully, nobody was hurt in the incident. No details with respect to any charges, if they may be filed, or the identification of the driver. A big tribute benefit concert's been announced for Music City next month. Here's Ken Weaver.
Toby Keith died in February after a long battle with stomach cancer. He sold more than 40 million records, had 33 number one hits, and now some of the biggest names in country music are going to pay tribute at Bridgestone Arena, including Luke Bryan, Eric Church, Ashley McBryde, Carrie Underwood, Lainey Wilson, and others. The Toby Keith American Icon live concert event on July 29th will benefit Keith's charity and the Monroe Carroll Jr. Children's Hospital at Vanderbilt. Tickets go on sale Friday on Ticketmaster at 10 o'clock. Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Also, highlights from that concert are going to be aired in a TV special on NBC on August 28th. And finally, we don't want you to miss the presidential debate tomorrow night, so we are going to carry it for you on Super Talk. The debate will air at 8 o'clock right after the live radio event we've got scheduled at Hop Springs in Murfreesboro. We hope you'll join us for the radio event with Dan, Chris, Matt, and Brian, and then stick around and watch the debate with us. That is the latest news, traffic, and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
No Brian Wilson today. Matt Murphy in for Brian. Brian back tomorrow at 3 o'clock, live on location at Hobb Springs. More on that coming up. It is 9 minutes after 6 o'clock. Time flies when you're having a good time. And 3 hours has just flown by. Lots to get into in this final hour of the drive. Hope you're well. Hope you're safe and sound. Maybe you're just getting home or on the way. It'll be there when you get there, I promise you that. Big rain showers coming through the area. Low-lying areas experiencing some level of flooding. Just be careful if you're in those areas. Be careful if you're out and about on the roadways because there is some flooding considering the amount of rain that came down very, very quickly. We'll keep you up to date on it on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We'll also keep you up to date with the goings-on in anticipation of Debate Day. A lot of political watchers are anticipating this, have been for some time, as the two candidates, the two certain candidates, but not the official candidates, as their conventions have not been held quite yet, will take the stage to debate tomorrow night. It will begin at 8 o'clock Central Time. We'll carry it live on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Your comment, what do you want to hear? What do you want to see? What do you want to know? What do you want from this debate? I was just watching as #NeverCNN. I like to say, I know Wilson says as much, I like to say that I watch this garbage so you don't have to. I mean, it's a garbage network full of garbage people. Don't watch. I'll watch. It's an occupational hazard for me. And I was just watching, and they were gushing over, I mean, it was embarrassing. The same media organization that claims that they will have an air of neutrality about how they conduct the debate during this, who is that? Erin Burnett, I guess? During her show, while I should have been listening to Jay Harper in his newscast. During her show, she was saying that Joe Biden is practicing looking directly into the camera as he speaks to the American people. And we are told that the testing is off the charts. She said that. A person that pretends that she is a straight journalist looked into her camera and said, Joe Biden, he's practicing speaking directly to the camera. Specifically, They were practicing a Donald Trump attack on his son, Hunter Biden, which they are sure is going to come tomorrow night. And Joe Biden looked directly into the camera and said that he is certain that so many Americans have had to deal with the scourge of drugs and the sadness of drug addiction. And he is so proud that his son has come out on the other side. And the testing was through the charts. Blech. I mean, good gracious. Anyway, that's going on. And if that wasn't vomit-worthy enough, then Adam Kinzinger comes on, who used to pretend to be a Republican. He no longer really pretends to be a Republican. And he has announced today, in the shockest of shocky things that you could possibly imagine, in other news, water wet, he is, in fact, endorsing Joe Biden. Anybody see that coming? Anybody? You know why Adam Kinzinger is endorsing Joe Biden? Because he wants to get paid. And Adam Kinzinger doesn't, well, let me just say this about Adam Kinzinger. You know, I try to employ if you can't say something nice about someone, don't say anything at all. My grandma used to tell me that, and I have violated that rule all of my adult life. I will say this. I appreciate his service to his country. And that is all I'll say about that. In the meantime, the United States Supreme Court offered a ruling earlier today that has many of us in the free speech business scratching our heads. All right, let's just go ahead and put this out there. I am in the free speech business. It is what I do. So I am naturally inclined to default to free speech when there is a question as to whether or not someone can say something or something. Something or something about someone. The Supreme Court earlier today ruled in favor of the Biden administration on a challenge to an alleged coordination with social media companies, saying that the states who sued the administration lacked standing. Now, they tried to get off on this technicality, but it does not answer the underlying question, which is of great concern, that the federal government of the United States was using certain social media platforms as essentially proxy organizations to prevent individuals from speaking against the government by telling those proxy organizations what they should or should not platform on their social media sites. And that is impermissible. Not only can the federal government tell me what I can or not tell me what I can or cannot say, unless and until it is demonstrated that I'm putting people in direct harm's way through my speech, there are very limited times when after I speak that I can be punished for things that I say. You understand the difference? But what the federal government can't do is come into the Matt Murphy show or the Drive with Brian Wilson with Matt Murphy subbing in and say, hey, Murphy, we understand that you are about to say something that we disagree with, that we think may down the road cause harm to individuals, and we're going to preclude you from saying what we think you might be about to say. They can't do that. Now, they can punish you after the fact if I engage in conversation that is directly inciting a riot or putting individuals in harm's way. Obviously, there are certain places that you can't go. Even your freedom of speech has certain limitations with regard to responsibility and punishment. But what the court said today was very confusing. In the case Murphy versus Missouri, now, this can get confusing because we just established that the U.S. Surgeon General's name was Vivek Murthy. Now, don't think that he's in any relation to Ramaswamy. He's not, although they have the same first name. And Murthy, I mean, I know that sounds like somebody with a lisp is trying to say Matt Murphy. That's not what's happening either. Murthy is the Surgeon General's last name, but Murthy was also the last name of an individual that was involved in this lawsuit. Stems from a lawsuit brought by state attorneys general from Missouri and Louisiana that accused high-ranking government officials of working in collusion with social media companies like Facebook and others, quote, under the guise of combating misinformation, end quote, that ultimately led to censoring speech on topics that included Hunter Biden's laptop, COVID-19, and the efficacy of face masking. Justice Amy Coney Barrett, writing for the majority, said the plaintiffs lacked standing in the case. Quote, the plaintiffs, without any concrete link between their injuries and the defendant's conduct, ask us to conduct a review of the years-long communications between dozens of federal officials across different agencies with different social media platforms about different topics. This court's standing doctrine prevents us from exercising such general legal oversight of the other branches of government. We therefore reverse the judgment of the Fifth Circuit and remand the case for further proceedings consistent with this opinion. The vote was 6-3. Samuel Alito dissented along with Clarence Thomas and Neil Gorsuch, 3 stalwarts when it comes to conservatism on the court. Barrett continued, the plaintiffs claim standing based on direct censorship of their own speech as well as their right to listen to others who faced social media censorship. Notably, both theories depend on the platform's actions, yet the plaintiffs do not seek to enjoin the platforms from restricting any posts or account. They seek to enjoin government agencies and officials from pressuring or encouraging the platforms to suppress protected speech in the future. In a July 4th court order last year, U.S. District Judge Terry Doughty imposed the temporary injunction preventing the White House and executive officials from meeting with tech companies. Here's the bottom line. Let me give you the 50,000-foot view on this and why I believe that the 3 quote-unquote conservatives, I think Amy Coney Barrett and John Roberts and Brett Kavanaugh got this absolutely wrong. I would expect that they would tell me that the standing issue was the primary reason that they voted with the majority and the 3 liberal justices. I get that, but here's the deal. On social media platforms, the effort on the part of the government to prevent information from being platformed prevents me from being harmed in any way because I don't know what was going to be said. In other words, you can always say that I don't have standing. If I sued Facebook because a buddy of mine tried to post some things that promoted Matt Murphy or said I was awesome and I was the best thing ever or whatever. And they wouldn't let him do that. The government said, hey, don't do that about Matt Murphy. Don't let him post this stuff about Matt Murphy, Facebook. You don't need to get into all of that. Matt Murphy's a bad dude, and we don't need all of this online, so we don't need to do that. And so they didn't do it. So I go to the courts and I try to sue, saying, hey, they were going to promote me and say nice things about me and valuable information about me, but they didn't do it because the government encouraged them not to do it. And the court has now said, well, Murphy, you don't have standing because you weren't harmed because the thing was never done to begin with. Well, the thing was never done to begin with because the government colluded with the presenting agency in order to prevent it from being done. Well, if it never happened, then you can't have possibly been harmed by it. Well, the fact that it never happened inherently harmed me. Well, we can't tell you what would or would not have happened because it didn't happen. That's their argument. It's convoluted, but that's their argument. My argument is simple, and it is this. Social media has become an extension of the public square. Social media, much like talk radio, has become an extension of the public square. And what you do not want governments doing, and it would be the same thing, friends. Okay, listen closely. If the government, through the Federal Communications Commission, got together and decided to meet with the ownership groups of talk radio stations, and they said, we really want to prevent the spread of misinformation, and we're trying to do our best here, and we're really trying to do best by the American people. Let's say, here's a great example. Let's say it's about transgender issues, okay? We feel like it's so important that we protect these transgendered youth. And we really want to avoid inciting people to be angry at these organizations that are promoting transgenderism amongst our youth. And you know what? It would be really, you'd be doing us a solid. We would hate, to have to come down on you through the FCC or whatever. You'd be doing us a solid if you just tried to convince your people to avoid those topics. We're not telling you what to do, but we're just telling you that it's going to be difficult for us not to engage in some form or fashion if you decide to go this route. And let us say then that the ownership groups of radio stations around the country said, you know what, we think you're right, Mr. and Ms. Government. We agree with you. And let us further say that they then filtered down rules and regulations about what we were and were not able to say on the radio about transgender people. Now, most of us in our arena would bolt. I know I would. There's only been one instance in my 24-year career on talk radio that I've been told specifically not to say certain things, and that was in the aftermath of January 6th. And there was almost a coup, not naming any names or not talking about any specific companies, but let me just tell you, there was almost a coup with regard to what happened there. That said, I think that there would be a full-on coup, but it's the same thing. You're limiting the ability for the public square to operate in a manner that is consistent with the Founding Fathers' vision of the First Amendment of the Constitution. Not only is it so the government couldn't come to me and tell me what I can't say about transgenders. The government should not be using a proxy, my bosses, to do the same effective thing to me, preventing me from utilizing my free speech rights. Does that make sense to everyone? Now, if my bosses want to tell me what I'm allowed and what I'm not allowed to say on the radio, that's their business, because this is their radio station. This is their radio company. And I can choose to go work somewhere else if I so desire. But that's not what happened at Facebook. It's not a matter of a private company making those decisions on their own. It's the private company being strongly encouraged by the government, and the government ultimately using Facebook and other organizations as a proxy wing of the federal government to prevent the dissemination of information on a platform that important. I hope that makes sense to everybody. So I strongly disagree with the court. I'm saddened by the ruling today, and hopefully it will be repaired down the road. It is 6:23 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
An attempted bribe of a federal juror in a Minnesota trial. And we'll have today's closing money news. That's all coming up at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Harper. A lot of communication on the membersnutrition.com super text line. We appreciate all of you. Scott writes in and says, we got another Supreme Court document leak. This one on abortion. Yeah, it's not expected to come out probably until Friday, but it is expected to rule in favor of those who want emergency abortions allowed in the state of Idaho. I won't get into the details of the case right now because I don't have time. We'll do it once the case is actually released. It's not been officially released. It was accidentally posted on the Supreme Court website and then immediately taken down, but some saw it. This involves a case in Idaho about emergency procedures allowable at hospitals. Idaho has a 6-week ban on abortions that triggered into effect when Dobbs v. Jackson became the law of the land. Dobbs v. Jackson was decided. It's not the law of the land. It was taken back to the states for them to individually decide what their positions were state by state on abortion. Idaho has this 6-week ban. So the argument is, obviously, in the event that the mother's life is at risk, an abortion is allowed. What those who brought the case in Idaho were arguing is that it should be allowed in cases where her life is not necessarily at risk, but her general health is at risk. Or, for example, her ability down the road to have future babies. If she is in an emergency situation, and it's believed the court will decide that in those circumstances, it is the duty of the hospitals to respond directly to the case as it is before them and to perform whatever procedure necessary to protect the health and the life of the mother, the health and the life of the mother. And what some have suggested is that it will lead to a legal loophole by which mothers can just go to the emergency room, declare that their health is at risk, and have abortions. I've not read the case yet because they've not actually released it, so remains to be seen. Here comes Jay Harper with the news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good evening at 6:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've still got rain in the area, and some of it is still rather severe. It's just kind of getting up over the Kentucky border now, that heavy line of storms. We're back up to 85 degrees. We'll get a full forecast and an ugly traffic report to you here shortly. Authorities in Minnesota laid out charges against 5 people involved in an alleged plot to bribe a federal juror. The trial involved the theft of $49 million from a federal program to feed hungry children. And as it came to a close earlier this month, a shopping bag stuffed with $120,000 cash showed up on the doorstep of one of the jurors, along with a note telling that juror to, quote, vote not guilty on all charges. Well, she did the right thing. She didn't do that. She immediately, she alerted authorities. Today, U.S. Attorney for Minnesota, Andrew Luger, commended that juror for doing the right thing.
Juror 52 gave us a clear example of how to do it. On Sunday night, June 2nd, Juror 52 refused a bribe and called authorities. And she made a difference.
Let's turn now to today's closing money news. Here's Chuck Siebertson.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. An up day. The Dow up 16 points. The S&P 500 gained 9. And the NASDAQ index up 88 points. Amazon Wednesday hit a stock market valuation of $2 trillion for the first time. Crude oil prices closed higher between about $80 and $85 a barrel. Volkswagen recalling more than 271,000 SUVs in the U.S. because the front passenger airbag may not inflate in a crash. Some Atlas and Atlas Cross sport vehicles are affected. Tesla recalling its futuristic new Cybertruck pickup for the 4th time in the U.S. to fix problems with trim pieces that can come loose and front windshield wipers that can fail. More than 11,000 trucks affected. Aer Lingus pilots say they will resume talks with the Irish airline after they launched an industrial action Wednesday. It led to cancellation of hundreds of flights, tossed travel plans of thousands into disarray. The pilots refused to work overtime.
And finally, we are looking forward to airing that presidential debate tomorrow night. Yes, it will be live here on Super Talk. The debate is set to air at 8 o'clock, right after the live radio event at Hop Springs in Murfreesboro. We'll hope that we're going to be seeing you. Hey, Dan, Chris, Matt, Brian, the whole crew's going to be there for the radio event, and we'd love you to stick around and watch the debate with us. That is the latest news. We've got traffic and weather upcoming. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com. Man, oh man, I've had a great time on my episode 599, almost 600 episodes. And they said it wouldn't last. We'll celebrate 600 tomorrow between noon and 3. Brian Wilson back tomorrow from his day of recuperation. He had a little procedure on his finger. Back at Hop Springs, and we certainly want to see you. Admission is free for you and free for me to Hop Springs. Obviously, there will be beverage available for purchase. There will be food trucks available for food purchase. And you come out, you see us, you say hello, and you sit down, and we'll talk amongst ourselves about what we anticipate coming up for the debate a little bit later on in the evening. Brian Wilson will crank up the festivities at 3 o'clock. We'll be there, we being Dan Mandis, Chris Hand, myself. I have it on good authority that Ken Weaver has taken it under advisement as to whether or not he will be there. Mr. Weber, you want to make a loose bet here at 6:40 in the evening as to whether or not Mr. Weaver will be there?
If he knows that Fatty Matty's will be on site, he'll be there.
Definite? Okay.
I think so.
I did. I offered to purchase him an adult libation. Mm-hmm. And I know how he appreciates the fine craft beers at Hop Springs. I thought that would get him.
Yeah, that might get him too.
I was hoping that you would be there.
Yeah, I'll be here.
Duty calls, I suppose. Oh, well. Maybe I can get Belle K to run you over some food from Fatty Matty's. You know Belle will be in attendance, right?
Sure, yeah. First one there, last one to leave, I'm sure.
All right, let's clean up a couple of things before we have to call it a night and say goodbye as we gear up for the debate tomorrow night, but there are other matters in the news. Our previous guest, Tim Burchett. Tim Burchett, he's great. Tim, what do you have to say? Tim Burchett, it's my Donald Trump. You have to do this when you do a Trump. Whatever you Trump, sometimes Trump's better than others. I don't feel like it's good right now, so I'm going to stop it. He mentioned Tyler Cherry. You know, the Biden administration's just throwing it in our face at this stage. The White House promoted an individual by the name of Tyler Cherry, someone that you've probably never heard about before. He is a former Interior Department communications director within the Biden administration. He has now been hired for a new role. He is going to be an assistant communications director for the Biden White House. After more than 3 years working at the Interior for Secretary Deb Haaland, last week I was promoted to associate communications director at the White House. Tyler Cherry, who is a dude regularly seen in a dress, running around. I mean, the Biden administration has a penchant for these types of folks. Whatever. Dude in a dress, whatever. That's not news anymore. But he also doesn't care for law enforcement very much, and he has a few things to say about other matters in the news as well. At least he did, until it was noticed on his X account, and he immediately deleted all of the posts. Oh, but we have ways to find them now, don't we? For example, several of his social media posts surfaced in which he blasted law enforcement and promoted Russiagate, saying, praying for Baltimore, but praying even harder for an end to the capitalistic police state motivated by explicit and implicit racial bias. Oh, well, okay then. He also said, APT, and we think he meant about, time to recall that modern-day police system, which is a direct evolution of slave patrols and lynch mobs. So apparently he's a defund the police guy. In 2018, Cherry called for the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Office, as well as Homeland Security, to be abolished. He also has posted support for Palestine on social media, saying that the state of Israel was committing genocide. Just a few of the statements made by the brand new Associate Communications Director of the Biden White House. Facing mounting pressure, Cherry has now taken to X on social media and announced that his past social media posts from when I was younger do not reflect my current views. Well, isn't that swell? He went on to affirm his support for the Biden administration agenda, emphasizing his focus on climate and environmental policies. Well, here's the deal. This dude in a dress can get away with anything he wants to as long as he doesn't start stealing suitcases from airports, right? We learned that that's the standard by which you get fired from the Biden administration if you are convicted of theft repeatedly. For those that don't remember, there was a former Biden administration official that also liked to wear dresses that was regularly found to be stealing female suitcases from airports and then absconding with the materials inside. In the meantime, House Republicans, and this was also mentioned by a former guest, Tim Burchett, House Republicans are now endeavoring to see whether or not they have the ability to literally arrest the Attorney General of the United States of America. And I think they do. A small band of Republicans are pushing back this week to hold Attorney General Merrick Garland not just in criminal contempt. He's already been held in criminal contempt. But here's the thing. When you don't have a mainstream media pressing this matter and you don't have a Justice Department that cares about the law, the Congress holds Merrick Garland in contempt for refusing to provide information that he is legally bound to give them. He just won't give it up. This is the audio testimony that President Joe Biden gave to Special Prosecutor Robert Hur. They provided a transcript, which they obviously cleaned up. Now we want to hear the audio for ourselves. We want to hear the, all of that junk. This is Joe Biden. This is the testimony provided by Joe Biden that ultimately led to Robert Hur concluding that Joe Biden did not have the memory and was not mentally able to stand trial, said that he was just a forgetful old man and nobody would convict him because he was so forgetful and old and infirm and feeble and mentally unable. Well, Merrick Garland refuses to turn over that audio. Legally, he's bound to do so. So the Congress held him in criminal contempt. Well, now there is a question as to whether or not to hold him in what is called inherent contempt, which is a rarely used maneuver that has been repeatedly confirmed by the United States Supreme Court as legal, that if voted on, if the Congress votes in the majority, if the House of Representatives votes in the majority, then the sergeant at arms has the ability, who is also appointed by the Republicans, to literally, not figuratively, not in word, but indeed, in fact, go and arrest Merrick Garland and bring him to Congress. Now, do all of the Republicans have the, how shall we put this, stones to do this? No. Sadly, no. Many of them don't. House Republicans have already held him in criminal contempt earlier this month, a different procedure that referred the matter to the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia. Of course, the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia has now declined to prosecute Merrick Garland. At a press conference Wednesday, the lead Republican pushing this endeavor, a freshman representative by the name of Anna Paulina Luna, said she's serious about the matter, and yes, if the resolution passes, the House Sergeant at Arms, the chief law enforcement officer that maintains order in the chamber, would then be able to literally arrest Merrick Garland and bring him before lawmakers. And all that the mainstream media says about this matter is, well, it's archaic, it's never been used. But the Supreme Court in 1821, and repeatedly they have reconfirmed their decision on this, they said, of course, the Congress has the ability to do this. While not specifically outlined in the Constitution of the United States, Congress technically does have the power to punish individuals held in contempt. The Supreme Court argued that it was absolutely necessary because otherwise, why wouldn't I just ignore them? Why wouldn't we all just ignore them? Well, Steve Bannon ignored them, and he is about to go to jail for 4 months as a result. Multiple Trump officials ignored them, and they're going to jail because the prosecutors in those cases actually did prosecute. Now the prosecutors, because the shoe's on the other foot, they've decided not to do so. Well, what do? Well, there's recourse. Just takes a matter of doing it. It's just a matter of doing it. Let's see if they have the historian of the Senate, Don Ritchie, said that he assumes the sergeant at arms would at least first give Garland the courtesy of a subpoena, demanding he appear before the House before jumping straight to arresting him. Well, that's nice. Hey, Merrick, you might want to come over here. Otherwise, we're going to send the cops out to get you and arrest you. Garland would be theoretically arrested. The Attorney General would then be brought before the bar of the House by the sergeant at arms, tried by the body, and then, hopefully drawn and quartered. All right? Tarred and feathered, put in the stockade, It's 49 after the hour on Super Talk.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Winding down the drive, I so enjoy these evenings together. Thank you to Brian Wilson for allowing me the opportunity to speak with the listeners of the drive in his absence. He'll be back tomorrow at 3, broadcasting on location in Murfreesboro at Hop Springs. It's my understanding, I got this from the Babylon Bee, our good friend over there at the Babylon Bee. Oh, what's his name? Sean Dillon, is that right? I think that's right. Dillon is the CEO over there. Headline, Donald Trump preparing for debate against Joe Biden by going to nursing homes and arguing with dementia patients. It's pretty good. That's pretty good. I did not get to the U.S. Surgeon General story. My apologies for not doing so. I'm aware that I did not. He declared gun violence a national public health emergency. What they ought to do is declare the southern border a national public health emergency and shut it down. That'll have to wait until tomorrow. Hope you join us at Hop Springs, folks. I'll do my show until 3, and then I'm off and out there. Murfreesboro is the location. We'll be out there. We'll have a great time. It'll be a lot of like-minded folks watching this debate, and we cannot wait for it happening tomorrow night and airing live on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you to Chris Weber. Thank you to Jay Harper, and thank you to all of you, particularly Mr. Wilson. We're back at noon. Until tomorrow, hug your loved ones. So long, everybody.